What's up, everyone? Welcome into Boxing Scene Today. I'm Chris Algieri, and as always, I'm joined by the champ, Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie's actually in studio. I'm still on the road after this weekend's big fight. Lester Martinez versus Immanuwel Aleem. Lester wins by unanimous decision in a pretty dominant performance, but a very competitive one at that, by scores of 120 to 108, 119, 109, and 117, 111. All in all, good fight, entertaining fight, scrappy fight. Aleem really brought it, showed an incredible chin. Very, very durable. Opened up his bag and was trying everything he could to get the win, but Lester was just on a different level. Champ, what's your takeaway from the fight this weekend with Lester and Aleem?
Good fight. Really good atmosphere. Loved the atmosphere. Got louder. I really think the last 2 weeks, Pro Box TV has come into another level, grown into another level. I think we have already had a good cult following within the sport, within the brand. Our fans and boxing fans in general, the hardcore ones, have really been tuning in and watching us. But I think the last 2 weeks, we've really made a lot of waves with the action in our fights, and the level of fights have grown here. Najee Lopez in a Fight of the Year candidate against win over Manuel Gallegos, and now Lester Martinez, becoming more and more one of the more known fighters in the sport, one of the upper level, high echelon, talented fighters in the sport, winning the WBC interim title against Immanuwel Aleem, who didn't show up for the payday, as we said. We said he would show up to win. Immanuwel is one of those guys who, on his night, can give a lot of trouble to a lot of people, and though Lester won with wide scorecards, it was competitive. He had to fight and scrap every round. This is one of those fights where on paper you look at it years from now and you'll say, oh, he wiped it pretty clean. But nah, he had to work. You've been there, champ. There's fights where you win wide on the scorecards, but you had to grind it out every single round and work hard every single round. And it was one of those fights for Lester. As a matter of fact, late there was a couple of moments where Aleem looked like he was going to really push and turn it on in round 11. I'll tell you what I take of this. I think it's a good performance. I think it continues to make Lester must-see TV. But I also think it showed enough flaws. It made him hittable enough to where if Canelo beats Mbili, maybe Canelo will fight him. I was pretty convinced after the Mbili fight that I didn't think Canelo will go near this guy if Canelo beats Mbili, which to me is a big if. But I think there's enough flaws shown on Saturday night for Lester, but yet he's still good enough and still high level enough and still exciting enough to where I think Canelo will maybe fancy his chances a little bit against Lester Martinez. That's not to say he beats him, but I think Canelo would fancy his chances. Obviously, I don't even know if Lester beats Mbili, because one of the biggest pieces of kryptonite for Canelo is a pace, which Mbili loves to bring, is a fast pace.
You don't know if Canelo beats Mbili, you said, Lester.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thanks, Jim. I don't know if Canelo beats Mbili, because one of the biggest pieces of kryptonite for Canelo is a pace, and that's what Mbili brings. But if Canelo were to win, I didn't think he would really look at Lester as an opponent, regardless of what the rules would be. But I think now, I find that, Lester was just flawed enough, still world class, but just flawed enough the other night to where he might be able to get the fight. I think this couldn't have went any better for him, champ.
Yeah, no, I agree on that. With there might be enough holes in Lester, and he showed. He wasn't like this completely dominant, huge puncher type fighter that he might be an avoided guy. I think it was actually a good performance for him in terms of the landscape of his future. But I think you really got to understand what Aleem brought to this. A lot of times people are going to look at this and, like you said, he on the scorecards on BoxRec, it looked like he beat him quite easily. But it was a fight where Lester had to dig deep, and I think that's going to be important for him. I think that's the kind of fight that makes you better. And to your point, maybe he looked flawed enough that some of these big guys are willing to fight him again. Maybe he does get the Christian Mbili rematch if he is to win. Maybe Canelo does fancy a fight with Lester because he doesn't have that big KO power like we've seen in the past. But all in all, I got to tip my hat to Aleem. I think he just super overperformed, and overperformed only because people didn't really know who he was. We've been speaking about him for weeks. I love it when fighters show up and make us look good, because we've been talking about how good Aleem is. He showed an incredible chin. super sharp, great endurance, and all in all, it was a super competitive fight. Each and every round was competitive. And Aleem afterwards, I remember speaking to him in the ring. Champ, you got to interview Lester, and I got to interview Immanuwel. And he was upset about the score. He was like, was it wide? I'm like, yeah, but it was wide. I told him the judges' scores, and he was like, hey, man. And I'm like, but listen, it was very competitive. I spoke with his manager as well, who was over the moon about it. He thought it was a great fight. He thought it was really competitive, round by round. At the end of the day, Lester is just, I think, on a different level, as he should be against a guy like Immanuwel Aleem. But to your point, people are going to be looking at this like, yeah, I thought Lester was going to blow this guy out. Lester should have stopped this guy. So it does leave a little bit of a question about Martinez in terms of where he lands with these 68-pounders. I think most people would have expected him to get the stoppage. Didn't necessarily have to be this emphatic, crazy KO. But we've seen Aleem get stopped, and we've seen him get stopped at 160. Martinez had the size advantage. He had the skill advantage, but he was still pushed, which makes for an exciting fight. I'm sure Lester was looking for an easier night than that, but it was nothing but nothing. It was nowhere near easy fight at all. Aleem really made Martinez work all night long.
Yeah, and that's why I think even Aleem could still remain in the running for a pretty decent fight there. I think Aleem is becomes a solid gatekeeper to where you find out if you can get to the big time if you beat him. But he's a gatekeeper to where he's got the keys to the big time. He may not be able to enter the big time overall, but he's there to prevent you from getting there to the big time fights. I think he's a solid gatekeeper, and for that reason, I think he'll remain in an area where he can get pretty decent fights and maybe be able to knock off maybe a prospect or get a chance against an up and coming prospect who's trying to reach contender status. I think Aleem is that kind of guy. Great crowd. Jesse Sunderland said Adames is moving to 168, but he said he mentions Lopez. Lopez is a light heavyweight, but I will say at 168 maybe for Adames and Lester Martinez could be a fun fight as well. Also, what about the crowd, man? Champ, the crowd was unbelievable. I mean, in my headset, I don't know if we tuned it up more than the headsets. It was like thunder.
I couldn't hear anything. Yeah.
I couldn't
even speak.
I felt like it was back in my Showtime days, some of those fights. I was like, wow, we're Pro Box TV, man. We're making it. You know what I mean? The last 2 weeks, I've felt that thunder in my headset with the crowd, and it's just, man. I hope the fans at home really felt that same energy as well.
I haven't watched it back yet, so I haven't.
No, I never watch fights back, but rarely.
I do because I want to. Like the Najee Lopez fight, I watched multiple times afterwards. I want to hear the call. I wanted to see what it's like. I wanted to see if you could feel the energy, and you could feel the energy in that room. Mm-hmm. And it was bigger. It was bigger on Saturday night with Lester. There's a lot more people in there. I don't know what the gate was, but it was a few thousand. But I mean, it was to the brim, and those people were excited all night long. The Guatemalan fans brought in a tremendous amount of energy into the ring, into the arena. Like you said, we couldn't hear each other. We couldn't hear ourselves. A lot of times we just laid out and let the crowd do its thing because it was that deafening in there. And I haven't been to a fight like that in a long time. I love these smaller shows. This was not like an arena show. It wasn't like a 10,000 or a 5,000 seat arena, but I think it was like $2,000 or $3,000 in there. But man, it was super loud. It reminded me of my old Paramount Theater days when it would get like really raucous,
those
really
real
loud.
partisan local crowds, with it. And there's a big Guatemalan community in San Bernardino. That's why we had the fight there. It was really
1.5 million in Los Angeles alone of Guatemalans registered. So
allegedly,
that's a massive.
Maybe more.
Allegedly, maybe more, but almost definitely more. But a lot of them came out and they brought their pride, they brought their energy, they made it a party in there. It was a really amazing show. And it shows that Pro Box TV, man, we're starting to get some guys who can actually sell some tickets and move some numbers. We've been talking about Lester Martinez as a potential star, and that word gets thrown around a lot, champ. It's like, this guy's a star. He's coming up. He's got a big Guatemalan base. I'm like, well, how big is this Guatemalan base that they're talking about? Does he really have star potential?
Like, yes, he's Latins love supporting their own, man.
Yes, he can fight. Yep. Yes, he's got great skills. Yes, he's been having the knockouts lately. But like a star is different. Yeah. I mean, I felt it. I felt the star presence of Lester Martinez on Saturday
He's got
night.
a little bit of an it factor too. If he learns English, it will be amazing. But he's a good-looking kid who can fights in an exciting fashion as well. I get some comments here. There's one kid over here. Let's see, Adam Hurley. He said Munguia would Evan eat Lester for lunch. Now, I think that's a good fight, actually. I think that's a good fight. I don't know what Munguia has left. I think Lester's ascending. I think Munguia is descending. Let's see if Munguia beats Resendiz. But I think
which is not a foregone conclusion. That's a tough fight for him.
And I'll tell you what, Lester obviously doesn't have the full version of the WBC title. That's another thing I actually want to visit into. We've been selling Lester as possibly the first Guatemalan world champion. Interim, you're halfway there. I don't believe you're all the way there. If we start counting all the interim champions in history and who didn't win world titles, then we're really going to start overdoing it with the titles. But he's certainly up there, and I think he's almost there. Having said that, I sent you something yesterday, and a couple of boxing scribes have mentioned this to me. As a matter of fact, the first time I heard about this was about a year ago. And I want to know from the comments, guys, because you guys sometimes educate us, and that's why I love interacting with you guys. About a year ago, I got a text message, and yesterday I got a text message from another kind of boxing scribe that I know in the business, old school guys. Was told that Marcos Villasana was actually the first Guatemalan-born world champion. So we've been selling you as Lester Martinez was the first Guatemalan-born world champion. Now, I don't know. There are record books that say Villasana was born in Guatemala, boxing record books from the 80s. I was sent a picture to my phone about it. But if you look at Villasana's Wikipedia, it says he's born in Mexico. Okay, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if at the time, it just wasn't feasible to market a Guatemalan fighter in the 80s, so they changed over and just said he was born in Mexico. Hey, it's the 80s, bro. There's no internet. You can't check anything, right? And you could just switch it up. Maybe, I don't know if there's some old school boxing fans in our chats here that can educate us on this a little bit, because there's some pretty strong evidence that Villasana may have been the first Guatemalan-born world champion. But I can't say for sure, and could be half Mexican, half Guatemalan, but regardless, if he was born in Guatemala, then he's the first Guatemalan-born world champion. So, if anybody has any details on that or more info on that, we'd love to, dig deeper into this bag. So, if that's the case, I mean,
because he does like even on his records, he lists Mexico, but if you're a national born Guatemalan and you
and also
career in Mexico,
and also in the 80s with no internet, who knows how it's probably more feasible just to be Mexican. It's easier to sell. It's easier to sell.
Even if you look at his box rec, which again is not always the end all be all, his first bunch of fights were all in Mexico. He fought mostly in Acapulco coming up, and then moved to Mexico City as he stepped up in class. That's one of those ones where it's like people are going to argue about it, and go back and forth. But I would like to get. Hopefully, we have some old boxing heads in there who possibly remember, because he's not that old. He's 65 years old now. He was campaigning in the late 80s, early 90s, so it's not that long ago. But that's an interesting WBC world featherweight champion. From what I'm looking, I fought Jeff Fennick.
Yeah.
And fought over in Manchester.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think that we sort of underplay Lester by mentioning him as a world champion when he's an interim champion. I think it's a great accomplishment what Lester did, especially getting to do what he did in front of his hometown fans. I think that he's continuing to be an ascending star, but I'd like to wait personally for him to get the full version of the championship to call him a world champion, because there are guys guys like Villasana exist too, who might have been born in Guatemala, who might have already been the first.
But even if you're not the first, even being in the top couple is a big deal. Like I always say, like on Long Island, the first world champion was Buddy McGirt, because we haven't had that many, and just being involved with being in the top 5 is a big deal. I mean, being the first, yes, is great. I mean, but also being the first in the modern era, that's another thing. It's like he hasn't had one in 20 years. So.
Yeah, being 30
years.
When he wins it, I mean, I think it'll be special when he wins the first one. But I think it was a special night the other night. It was a special moment from the other night, regardless, because again, getting to do it in front of that kind of fan base, really, I felt the warmth in the energy in the crowd, both while we were calling the fight and also in the arena when we were inside the ring interviewing the fighters, and when Lester really got emotional on the mic. They people always tell me you never give up the mic when you're a reporter, but I was not gonna. He wanted to take the mic, and I had
people texting me about that. Holy, gave up the mic right away.
I hear you, but bro, I'm not stepping on his moment, bro. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna wrestle with if that. I get it. I understand, and under normal circumstances, maybe I agree with you, but in the moment, he's so emotional, and it is probably the most special moment of his career to date thus far in his boxing life.
Oh no,
listen,
no question.
And listen, if we're I'm not gonna start wrestling
But
with
also,
the mic
Champ,
with him
he's
over there.
not the
sorry.
guy. He's not the guy who's going to say anything crazy. He's not going to go out there and disrespect his opponent.
Yeah,
he was speaking to his people.
And that's what I mean. I didn't want to bust up that moment where what's on his mind, that he wanted to speak his mind to his people and all that. I said, bro, I get it. There's a letter of the law, and there's what is it? A letter of the law and the what is it? What's the two things?
I don't know what
the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Spirit of the law and letter of the law.
Yeah.
I was more in the spirit of the law. I get what the letter of the law is. And the spirit of the law is, you know what, this guy having his moment right now. Let it slide.
Yeah.
And that's why I did that, guys.
And we're talking, and obviously we're talking a lot about Lester. We're talking about the winner, but Immanuwel Aleem put on an incredible performance. Where does he go from here? And I think Champ, you alluded to earlier. First of all, the platform, Pro Box TV, everybody tuned in, especially on back-to-back weekends. We had the Fight of the Year the weekend before with Najee Lopez versus Manuel Gallegos. Everybody tuned in. Everyone who didn't know about Pro Box knows about Pro Box now. So now you got a back-to-back weekend where now we have a 12-round fight with an interim title and a major organization. You got Lester Martinez, who's a potential budding star. So people are tuned in. People watch that. So Immanuwel Aleem not only quote unquote overperformed for maybe what was expected of him from the boxing world, but everybody got to see him. They got to see what this guy brings. And does he get another big fight after this? I think so. Is he going to walk into an A side?
That's a good
Probably
question.
Not, but
what's next for Aleem? I'll tell you, we just mentioned that Adames is moving up in weight. Sometimes when you move up in weight, and Adames now obviously would relinquish the WBC middleweight title, so maybe he can get a feel out kind of fight at the new weight class, and that feel out kind of fight at the new weight class, a guy like Aleem fits that bill, right?
I would be surprised if Adames went right to 68 and went right to Lester.
Yeah.
That would be probably a little bit
or
bridge too
any
far.
super risk fight. Aleem is like get your feet wet. Get your feet a little wet.
But Champ, would you not see that as a risky fight?
I rate Carlos
Adames very high.
Aleem is not a gimme. It's risk, but it's not top upper echelon. It's again gatekeeper status at 68. Let's see. Okay, if you're the real deal at 68, you got to beat Aleem. Aleem, if you're not the real deal at 68, Aleem is going to beat you. And then, of course, if Aleem beats Adames, well, he's in the same situation again where he can put himself back in the mix, right? So,
Carlos also, you got to keep in mind, Carlos Adames used to be a welterweight.
Yeah,
so like he's
coming
big,
up
down to 68.
He's big, bro. He's big. I know he's at 68.
He's big. He's strong. He's aggressive. Yeah. But we saw even with aggression, with Aleem, that's not the way to be. You're not going to just be aggressive with Aleem. You got to show boxing skills, which Carlos Adames did, and we're going to talk about his fight with Alma Williams over the weekend as well.
Yeah.
But what about the boxing skills shown by Lester Martinez? I was very impressed, and I know that we talk about it on our air all the time. He's got a high level amateur background. He was shown. I mean, people knew him from the amateurs. He fought internationally. He fought really top quality opposition over the years, and I think he realized early on he was trying to blast Aleem out early. And he just wasn't going there. And he was throwing big bombs the first round he looked great.
And I think that's maybe why he got tired late. He got gassed. There was a comment earlier that mentioned that he gassed out maybe because he put too much emphasis on trying to get the KO. But he did finish strong. He finished strong. Well, he started pot shot. He started pot shotting halfway through. I think he realized, okay, you know what? This guy's not going anywhere. Let me make sure I win the round and start pot shotting and shooting sharp shots. That's where Aleem didn't make the adjustment. Aleem just I think started shooting less punches overall and just saving for the big ones. He was only trying to shoot big ones, and he was not as consistently throwing punches, and Lester was able to win those rounds with the pot shotting.
That's why the scores are wide, right? Because Martinez started early with the big shots, and he was landing absolute bombs and haymakers. The uppercut he landed, I believe it was like the first round or the second round, like right on the chin, which Aleem took really well. Those big power shots were very aggressive early on. That secured those early rounds, and then he started boxing. He started pop shotting, and that's where there was a big separation. You could see the skill set of Lester Martinez. That's why those middle rounds, I thought they were pretty dominant, pretty easy to score, and then the end, it got really tight, and Aleem probably won a few of those rounds. Yeah, like 10, 11,
Aleem
9, 10,
had
11.
a really good 11th. I felt like
11th.
Somebody's also mentioning Berlanga. Berlanga for Adames or Aleem, I think, is a good fight. I don't know if Berlanga and Aleem would get made though, because they're kind of both the same kind of guy, at least at the moment. But
I would like to see that fight.
But I like the fight too. I don't mind Aleem versus Berlanga. Actually, I like the fight. It's just who buys that, because I think they're both the same level of guy, and unfortunately in boxing sometimes that level against one another nobody makes it. Maybe we would make it at Pro Box, but I think I don't know if it's the kind of money that that they're probably going to be looking for.
Well, I mean, listen. If what about an opportunity of Zuma? What if Zuffa? Excuse me. What if Berlanga goes to Zuffa, and then would that not be a kind of fight that they would like for an entry guy?
Yeah, Zuffa. You know what? Yeah, Zuffa would make Berlanga and Aleem. Yeah, I think that you know what? That's it's not bad if they could work out the deals with the guys. I think. Zuffa,
I feel like
that's a Zuffa kind of fight.
Going that route.
That's a Zuffa kind of fight. Yeah, that's a Zuffa kind of fight where the right kind of opponent would be an Aleem for Berlanga.
Because then you have the star power of Berlanga.
Also, Adames and Berlanga. Just like I said, Adames and Aleem is a good fight to enter at 168. I think Adames and
we're not seeing that.
I'm not saying we're seeing that fight, but it's on paper, that's the kind of fight you enter a new weight class in. Like a sort of a gatekeeper / fringe contender.
Well, so to your point, because Shiraz coming off the controversial draw with Carlos Adames, most people thought Adames won that fight.
Yeah,
right?
I thought so.
Shiraz's first foray in 168 was Berlanga.
Yeah.
So Carlos Adames, if he was going to follow the same trajectory, it's like, all right, well, his first fight at 68 was this guy. My first fight should be this. So I understand where you're coming from, but I just don't see that happening.
No, I don't, especially if Berlanga goes the Zuffa route. I'm not sure if Adames is the kind of guy that goes the Zuffa route. But
I don't think so. Aleem, I think Adames is going for titles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I don't know, man. It's there's a lot of possibilities. I'm trying to get creative here. I'm trying to see what I'm trying to see if anybody in the comments mentioned about Villasana. Nobody's mentioning about Marco Villasana. So looks like everybody has.
We're going throwback on that. My grandfather's not on. he's not in our lives at the moment. He's not really. So those are the kind of guys we're looking for. People who are around then who really know their sport.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's old school. Mexicans, Iceman 462 said Mexicans give a lot to boxing. Come on, Paulie Malignaggi. I mean, when did I say they don't? I actually said that Villasana might have just used the Mexican route. Used to use the Mexican route because it's easier to promote you as a Mexican in the 80s than it would have been as a Guatemalan.
I think you're actually saying as a good thing towards Mexican audiences.
No, because it's
but
easier.
But also, we don't understand where Villasana what he was really repping. Like, what set did he rep? Did he rep that he's Guatemalan, or did he assimilate into the Mexican heritage so they can progress his career?
Yeah.
It's an interesting thought, and we don't have the answers to that until we speak to someone who was actually there in that scenario. But But all in all, I think that real quick, guys, I want to shoot our thoughts and prayers from ProBox TV for Isis CO. She fought on the opening bout of the night. She suffered a bad first round knockout, was taken out of the ring in a stretcher. She's currently in a coma right now, so we're sending our best wishes to her, hoping that everything will be okay. It's a real shame. This is a very dangerous sport, and these kind of things can happen. So she's currently in a medically induced coma.
A lot of. I want to clear up some things too. At least from rumors that I've heard, rumors that have circulated on the internet, and maybe what you've heard, because it's honestly not clear to me. Coming off of the knockout 2 months ago, but I heard the stoppage was on a body shot 2 months ago.
It was a body shot.
Yeah, so I don't know that that stoppage 2 months prior is going to have a big thing. I know everybody likes to jump the gun and be like, oh, she just got stopped 2 months ago. Well, she was back too early. She got stopped with a body shot, guys. But having said that, to get knocked out like that in one round in a women's fight with that kind of firepower is usually not in women.
Also, Camarillo doesn't have knockouts like that. Doesn't have.
And also to go to sleep like that, Camarillo doesn't have knockouts like that. But in the first round, to wind up in a coma after a first round knockout, usually, almost every time I've seen a brain injury in boxing, it's usually on a dragged out fight. You got to be taking a beating, or it's even if sometimes it's competitive, like with Abdusalamov with the Cuban heavyweight. Forgot his name.
Perez.
Mike Perez. Even then, even if it's competitive, it's still a dragged out high
brutal
contact
fight.
But it's got to go. What I'm saying is, it's got to go a lot of rounds. It's got to go at least 6-7 rounds. Anytime in my experience that I've seen this happen in boxing, for the fighters to be into a risk factor to where they're taking enough punishment that then a knockout, or sometimes not even a knockout, results in this kind of post-fight trauma to the brain. I have seen terrible early knockouts. No, nothing. Smelling salts, they wake up, okay, you're suspended and you're good because you didn't take enough sustained damage. The only time I've seen permanent damage or brain trauma damage in an early KO like this is many times when the fighter already came into the ring damaged. Okay, that's the only time you ever see this kind of damage from a first round knockout or from early knockouts. Because think about like Ricky Hatton Pacquiao, for example. You know, if you knocked out cold, wake up, it's only 2 rounds. You didn't take a beating. You know what I mean? You're gonna be fine. It's never ever, unless it goes round. So I still have a suspicion that something might have happened to this girl in training or something. I'll tell you, we were in the interview. Go ahead, Champ.
Yeah, you fought in California, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I never fought in California.
They're very strict. Andy Foster knows what he's doing, bro. Andy Foster doesn't let anything go, man. I'm telling you. So
what about
people don't want to try to blame the commission.
The medical requirements? What about the medical requirements?
No, they're strict, bro.
Are there brain scans? Are there yearly brain scans? Are there?
I mean, there's bro. California's one of the most detailed commissions.
And that's the thing. You can never know. Yeah. This can happen at any time. This is boxing. I agree with you.
Lolo Harris was on our card. They were trying to get him a replacement. Nobody could get okayed because Andy Foster's so strict. Like, no. So,
I've always known California to be strict.
Listen, Isis Seal tragically got hurt. Here's the thing, okay, going into the fight. She has a win. She's 1-2. So anybody with a win, you would not imagine is as inept as she looked in the ring. Because, God, I can't even imagine how bad the person she beat must have been if she has a win, okay? Because she looked completely out of her league being in a boxing ring the other night, okay? Like, she doesn't belong anywhere near a boxing ring, not even to watch boxing, okay? I'm sorry to say. And she was in a boxing ring. But who could know that? She's coming in with a 1-2 record. She's coming in from, like, North Dakota or whatever. She beat somebody. So you think, okay, she's able enough. Yeah, it's a showcase fight for Jocelyn Camarillo, but you don't think she's going to be that bad. Then, but I started getting suspicious in the pre-fight interview the day before. You know, we always interview the fighter. She was absolutely clueless. Like, when talking about a game plan, talking boxing in general, you understand when you're talking to a boxer and when you're talking to somebody that does this, they have a way of speaking, a manner of speaking as far as when you're asking for, technical stuff, little details. We're not asking for a lot of details in pre-fight interviews because nobody's going to give up their game plan. But just boxing chatter, when you're a fighter, even when you're a reporter, when somebody talks boxing, when they know what they're talking about. Dude, Isis Seal was talking like a casual boxing fan that doesn't even watch boxing when she was answering questions. Not even. Like this girl boxes. She looked like she doesn't even watch boxing the way she was talking. Like, the way she was answering the questions, it would be like if I ask a random person on the street who never watched boxing to answer these questions. She was answering them in that manner. And so I started getting suspicious, like, okay, man, this girl's
but still,
but the
champ, even in that case, we're talking about
she would have got hurt.
Rounder.
I would have never thought she would have got. What I'm saying is, I would have never thought she got hurt. But either way, you couldn't see this before, okay? We saw it in the pre-fight interview, but even then, I wouldn't. My point. Even then, I wasn't going to think she was going to wind up in a coma.
No,
but I think
also, she's young.
I didn't think she was going to last.
19 years old.
I didn't think she was going to last long, regardless. Okay, after that interview, I was like, this girl's not even probably going the distance. But I would have never.
But even that, it was a 4-rounder in a 5 than less. Yeah, less than 5 fight.
And
Camarillo, with a good amateur background, but no KOs.
Yeah, exactly. Camarillo's a good fighter, but she doesn't punch like that. No
KOs. Yeah,
it's a showcase fight.
And even if you watch the punches that landed, the punches that they were not these devastating shots.
But also,
looked like they were super heavy.
When she got herself,
the body shots definitely hurt her, but she froze.
But when she got
hit with some good body shots early.
But when she got herself knocked out, the reaction before the knockout, where she got trapped on the ropes, and her reaction when she got trapped on the ropes was to drop her hands and stand straight up. No instinct at all. That's what I'm saying about you shouldn't be in a boxing ring. You go up against the ropes and you get trapped.
Yeah, but champ, there's no one checking your abilities. There's no one checking to see if you can actually fight. Especially in a 4-rounder.
Dude. Her team
was clueless too, though, champ. Her team let her down as well. They were in the interview with us. They weren't saying anything boxing related. But this is just a tragic thing. It's horrible. It's horrible to see. But it's one of those things that if you pass your medicals, how do you stop something like this from happening? Like, yeah, I think our matchmakers usually do a really good job of looking at who's coming. And like you said, she had a win. She wasn't like 0-7. She wasn't 0-1. She wasn't coming off of a bunch of bad knockouts. She got knocked out to the body in her last fight. But regardless, though, it's a shame. We send our thoughts and prayers to her. We really hope that she can recover. But this is very serious stuff, and as always, boxing is very, very, very serious. But in terms of that, guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to toss to a break real quick. We will be back. We'll be back with more Boxing Scene Today top stories. Saturday, March 28th, ProBox TV's Contender Series is bringing a storm of flying leather to Thunder Studios in Long Beach. Career fortunes will be on the line in the main event as Mexican super bantamweight warrior Brian Acosta collides with two-time world title challenger Ronnie Rios in a crossroads battle. Then in the co-main event, Rene Tellez Giron will go 10 rounds or less with 20-2 Mayhem Maliak Montgomery. Welcome back to Top Stories. Chris Algieri here, Paulie Malignaggi in the ProBox TV studios. Joining me, we're talking all things boxing. Over the weekend, there was another big fight. We talked about Lester Martinez and Immanuwel Aleem for the interim WBC 168-pound title, but also another very, very good middleweight fought. That was Carlos Adames. He fought on Saturday night as well against Amma Williams. Looked real good. Got a knockdown, but went the distance, but was a pretty dominant performance against a very game guy in Amma Williams, who is a talented young guy. Champ, what did you think of the result? Was that what you were expecting? I think most people expected Adames to win, maybe even win by stoppage, but he showed a lot of skills and was really dominant.
Yeah. Adames is one of the more underrated fighters in the sport, I think.
Agreed.
Really has been around for a while, has some solid wins. Doesn't get the accolades that I think he deserves, but he's been a real good fighter, and it's had a relatively tough schedule, all things considered, considering he doesn't get the fanfare of some of these other fighters. And he continues to keep it moving. He continues to, remain at the top level. Still, I don't think is appreciated as much as he could be. He's not been handed anything. Like I said, he's had to take tough fights against top fighters, even underratedly top fighters like Derevyanchenko, for example. That was a battle and a half when they fought. So yeah, it was what I expected. I expected Adames to win. He's a guy that entertains and is a guy that I always enjoy watching because he's never most of his fights are good fights, minus maybe the Shiraz fight, which I thought he got robbed in, but I didn't think it was a very good fight. But overall, he's a good fighter, and I expected him to win this fight against Williams, and he did.
Yeah, I did as well. But I love doing these live shows because we always have special guests, and we're joined by one of the best trainers in the world today, boxing genius, really, strategist, boxing coach, Bo McIntyre. What's up, Bo? We're talking.
What's going on, y'all? How you doing?
Bo Mac, congrats, man! Congrats
great to see you. Congratulations!
Congrats. Thanks, on Saturday night. How you doing, man? What's the energy been like since Saturday night?
Oh man, it's electrifying, man. Throughout the camp, man, everybody happy. Lester and Hector, they went back home, so.
Okay.
They went back to Guatemala already?
Yeah, they went back. Yeah.
Right, gotta celebrate back home, right? With the fans, with the people, man.
Got to, man.
Yeah.
He's got to be expecting a hero's welcome, I'm sure.
I know, huh?
What was your take on the fight, Bo? What looking back now, you've had a couple of days to digest. What did you think of the performance? Positives, negatives, and what comes next?
The positive part, man, that I liked about the fight was he exerted everything that he had in his tank to get that win. Mm-hmm. He boxed great. He stayed off the ropes. He kind of winged a little bit in some spots of the fight, but he pretty much stayed behind his jab and worked off that jab, which was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And also, but I was really impressed with the adjustments that Lester was making throughout there. He came out, like you said, kind of winging a little bit early, looking like he was going for the knockout. Mm-hmm. But once he realized that Aleem was a solid guy, was taking those shots, he went in his bag a little bit and got on his toes, started boxing from the outside, pot-shotting. And then even later on, went back to trying to land some big shots. So I think he showed a lot of versatility. Were you pushing him in different rounds to be like, hey man, get off trying to knock this guy out. Let's box a little bit. Let's show what we got.
Well, one thing I did tell him was that what's just funny is I did tell him in between the rounds, you got to keep boxing and boxing. You got to stay up on your toes, get some rhythm in your legs, and use your feints. Of course, I was listening to my guys on the outside, like Red didn't get to work the corner, or Bernie didn't get to work the corner. So they was on the outside, in my ear, telling me to do this, telling me to do that. because at one point in the fight, man, I became a fan. It was like, God damn, this motherfucker fighting, man. It was a good fight to watch. But just listen to my guys on the sideline, the assistant coaches, man, just telling me, hey, tell them to do this, tell them to do that. And then like y'all said, he was making adjustments because the lean started. He started getting a little smart and started to try to punch out at Lester. And so, and I know that's one point where Red said to me, he's trying to counter him. He's trying to counter him. So he needs to use his legs and feint a little bit more. You know, for a couple of rounds, I kept telling him, come on, man, you got to get some rhythm in your legs. Get some rhythm in your legs. Stop going back every time that he punches out to you by knocking you off balance. You can't punch like that. Then it took a couple of rounds for him to do that. But once he got it, he started doing it and got that rhythm in your legs. He put his lean on the ropes, using his feints and hitting with those big shots, which was beautiful, man.
You know, Jesus M2159 asks, what improvements do you want to see from Lester Bomac?
I just wanted to see the box more. Box his way into the heavy shots. You know what I'm saying? Because he come out there and he try to get you out of there. You know, he ain't try to do no overtime work. He ain't trying to do 12 rounds.
Was he
trying to get your asses out of there?
Was he trying to get started fast because of possibly the slow start he had against Mbili, and maybe he was trying to get away from that, and maybe that caused him to have the opposite effect, that he started too fast?
Well, you know what? I think it was we didn't have a lot of time to warm up. We didn't have to use the time that we were supposed to have to warm up because every fight was going pretty fast. So actually, when he first got to the ring, it was like, man, come on, man, y'all only got like an hour or so because everybody's getting knocked out. So we was kind of rushing, you know what I'm saying? So I think that might have been a little bit played a big part of it, you know, getting started real fast and then, you know, just cruising through the win.
Also, going 12 rounds for the first time in his career, right? That's a good experience to get. Back-to-back distance fights. Mbili was 10 rounds, but it was a very, very fast clip and a very fast pace. Now doing these 12 rounds, it's got to be beneficial for him in some ways to have to think through a 12-round fight.
Definitely that, man. Definitely going those rounds. That's what, 22 rounds, which is great for him.
Against good competition.
Great competition. Mm-hmm. So
speaking of that competition, Bo, what'd you think of Aleem? What'd you think of what he put up? I know we talked.
That motherfucker was good. He was good.
Yeah,
and I think
we knew that going in. We talked about that.
Yeah, I think I heard of him before, but he wasn't on the radar. But when they said Aleem, Immanuwel Aleem, I was like, oh, another guy. But then I was like, damn, that motherfucker got in there and started fighting, boy. He was like the typical. He started off the typical boxer, Black American boxer. The slickness on his toes, fast hands, nothing behind his punches. But once he settled down, oh man, he got a chin on him and he got a big ass heart.
Yeah, Aleem, he seemed like he had the opposite effect. He came in the ring real drenched in sweat, and through the national anthems, I noticed him bouncing a lot. He was trying to, and I remember looking at Chris and saying, and Chris looking at me and then saying, you know, he's probably looking to start fast because Lester was kind of calm in the corner and hadn't really broken a sweat, and you know, was kind of just, you know, singing the national anthem, a long ass Guatemalan national anthem, and you know, he was kind of in the moment while Aleem was bouncing in place and came in the ring already soaked. So you know, I felt like, you know, Aleem probably wanted to start fast, but, you know, Lester met him with some good punches early on. They were fighting at a fast pace early on, and maybe it slowed as the pace as the fight went on.
Man, I took notice of that too, man. And I told Lester go to the body because he's using those legs awfully a lot, boy, over there jumping up and down like a jackrabbit and shit. So I was like, go to the body because it kind of slowed him down a little bit. But, you know, Lester did what he needed to do to get the win.
Yeah, Bo, it was really hot in there. I know people at home didn't know that, but it was that arena was steamy. We were sweating through our jackets. Yeah. Was that a concern there? You know, you got a 12-round fight with a guy who was really bringing it. Was there any concern about overheating because the arena was so hot?
No, I don't think nobody really paid attention to it, man. I didn't, you know, and Lester didn't say nothing to me about it. So I mean, we just took it how it was and then just proceed with the fight.
Yeah, I guess worst comes to worst, you warm into the fight quicker, right?
Yeah, I'm right about that.
Yeah. All right. What do you think is next, Bo? You know, I feel like Mbili Canelo winner is more realistic now. I wasn't sure they would jump at it, but you know, I felt like Lester looked world class, but was hittable enough to where maybe these guys may fancy their chances, which is what you need. You need these guys to fancy their chances a little bit. Otherwise, I think they avoid them, and then Lester becomes like Benavidez, where he couldn't get a fight at 68. What do you think of the chances of Lester getting the winner of that fight?
As I was talking to Gary, he was like, you got to see what Canelo wants to do. Canelo makes up his own mind. He does his own thing. Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. I said, well, if I keep talking shit, that might really mount. He's like, no, you might scare his ass away. So just hopefully.
I don't know if he wins against Mbili, honestly.
Yeah, that's a tough fight.
He don't, especially in his older age, he doesn't like a pace. And
yeah,
for better or worse, Mbili, his main asset is a pace.
Yeah. Now, as far as Mbili goes, they might be forced to take that fight because of what Lester have done his last fight, and then hopefully this next fight we can get another type of opponent like Aleem, but a little bit higher rating. Somebody at 68 that's in that's in talking, that everybody's talking about. We get to knock him off, it'll be forced. We'll force Mbili to take that rematch. Then we'll finally get.
Yeah, Bo, I'm here, and you're not waiting around for what Canelo decides. Like, yeah, that's important, but you're gonna stay working, look for another fight to stay busy and stay out there. Yeah.
Hey man, listen, at this time, man, you might as well keep him busy at the age that he at, and give the Guatemala fans what they want. Let him build his brand. Let him build anything else outside of the boxing that he needs. He needs that exposure. Just go ahead, milk it while you can, because once it's gone, it's gone. Coming back.
Looks like we need a bigger arena.
Yeah, exactly.
A bigger arena too.
Like a bigger arena. He probably needs to be a bigger arena. Yeah, this might be the last time Lester fights in a homey kind of arena. It might be just the big stage from now on, man. Because those fans packed the house the other night and they were loud. You could have probably sold a bigger arena the other night for sure, man.
Yeah. Well, they said in August is probably gonna be somewhere in LA. With a nice arena. So.
Okay.
Got my fingers crossed.
Maybe the old what do you call it? StubHub Center or the Staples Center, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be
StubHub Center is like 1,000 degrees, honestly, outdoors in August. I hope it's not that, but maybe the old Staples Center, whatever it's called now. I don't know what the Staples Center is called now, but maybe that. I guess we'll see. But
man,
Rafael Abreu said everyone at home knew how hot it was. Paulie wouldn't shut up about it all night. I know, man. I was dying to sweat. What was I gonna do? I got a suit on.
It was so hot.
I was dying.
I think it was bothering us more than the fighters. Apparently, Bo said he didn't even notice it. Lester didn't notice it. So it was bothering us more than anybody.
Man, y'all was sitting underneath those lights, man. That plays a big part for it.
Yeah.
Sitting on them lights all night, shit.
Well,
that just comes along with the job, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's it. But you know what? I'm kind of making weight too, so it's okay.
Well, I ain't, man. I'm not trying to make weight. I'm trying to keep my weight up.
Sweat down a little bit, man. All good. So Bo, okay. So you think Mbili may get forced? I'm kind of feeling the same thing as you. Mbili could get forced to fight Lester if he wins, but Canelo, the rules somehow never seem to apply to him. He may have may want to go in a different direction. But again, I think I like Lester's chances of getting the Canelo fight if he wins. If Canelo wins, better now than I did a week ago. I think he may listen. Canelo will do what he wants to do, obviously, but I think it's a possibility. I think it was a better possibility. A week ago, I really didn't see Canelo wanting to go near Lester. So hopefully that worked. That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
But the thing is, Lester has one more performance before Mbili and Canelo, right? Because they fight in September.
Well, I tell you what, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, right.
This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. He gonna go home, take his ass home for a couple weeks. What's up, coach? Morning. He gonna take his ass home for a couple weeks, then he coming right back, man. Because I seen something where we could have used a little bit more time than Ken. That Crawford effect. We do 12. We do with Bud. We do 12, 16 weeks sometimes and shit, which is what he really needs for them 12 rounds.
Yeah. But don't look too good, or if Canelo wins, he may not fight you. Don't look too good. especially 2 weeks before that fight.
But listen, I'm gonna tell you like this.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime that you go out there, you want to look your best. We can't do nothing about it if guys don't want to fight him or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because I never wants to go into a fight that half-assed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then you're subject to get hurt or something, you're subject to look bad or something like that. And then the critics are like, oh, he's not what he really say he is and shit. And then the first person who they look at is who? The guys in the corner. What they doing over there? Why he look like shit? You know what I'm saying? So then that'll get the boxing world in a frenzy and shit. What is Bo and them doing? And Lester got tired. Lester then I want fuck all that, man. We need him 100%, 110, 15, 20% every time he step in that ring. It's not our fault if those guys get away or shy away from the fight because they see what Lester's doing and what other boxers doing. You got to be 120%. Yep. Y'all know that.
Yep, absolutely. Let's talk about a couple of your other fighters.
That's great insight.
I want to know about a couple of the other fighters from that night. First of all, Lolo Harris didn't get the fight. Opponent dropped out last minute, tried to find a replacement. They couldn't find the replacement that would get okayed by the commission. Tell us about Lolo. What's the plan? When is he coming back?
Okay. Lolo, man, he was devastated.
Yeah, that's his hometown, right? He would have had his people too.
And then once they started, we're gonna pay him anyway. He was all right.
Yeah, it's not.
That's all right, but you gotta fight too, though. You gotta get him back right away. That kid wants to fight.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so he'll be back in camp next week, and then this weekend he's coming back this weekend, and then I'll sit and talk to Gary in the next day or two to find out where he's going to be at, but. Yeah, he needs to fight. I want to have him a good push this year, man. So at least he can try to get ready in a sister body sanction with those guys, or at least in the top 15, so people can start talking about him. And he's only 22 years old.
WOTF8567 is a super chat. He says, Adames said he's mandating for the 168-pound WBC belt. I guess if he comes up from middleweight, he'll probably get a high ranking. So that could be something in your future as well. Bomac could be Lester and Adames pretty soon.
Let's go. I don't give a damn at this point, man. You know what I'm saying?
Fight anybody.
Good fight, right?
Yeah, we'll fight anybody.
That's a nice fight. Adames haven't been had world championship accolades. A nice fight.
That'd be a great fight, and I'm sure Lester accepted with open arms.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
He'll welcome anybody into that division. Well, Bomac, thank you for your time and your insight. Absolutely incredible to hear your wisdom. Congratulations. Great job. Looking forward to hearing of the next news on Lester Martinez and when he's coming back. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. We're just going to take a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Saturday, March 28th, ProBox TV's Contender Series is bringing a storm of flying leather to Thunder Studios in Long Beach. Career fortunes will be on the line in the main event as Mexican super bantamweight warrior Brian Acosta collides with two-time world title challenger Ronnie Rios in a crossroads battle. Then in the co-main event, Rene Tellez Giron will go 10 rounds or less with 20-2 Mayhem Maliak Montgomery. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Boxing Scene, ProBox TV's top stories. Hear about this one? How about this top story there, Paulie? Ryan Garcia calling out Terrence Bud Crawford. What do you make of this?
Ryan's just trolling. Come on, Ryan. You know what it is? I notice about these guys that are special on YouTube, like that they're or the internet in general. What do they call them? Influencers. Because Ryan, at the end of the day, he's a world-class boxer. But he also has that influencer side to him, and he's kind of
he knows how to make news.
He's dabbled in both. He's not like a strictly an influencer who became a boxer. He's a boxer who also was an influencer, and he's always been a boxer. But they still have this side of them. Jake does this too. Will randomly tweet or Instagram something crazy. Jake Paul does this. So I think this is just one of those crazy things, where Ryan's gonna do it just for the gram, doing it for the gram.
But why Bud? It's like normally these guys call someone out because they're in. But normally it's like someone's in the news. Like if he called out like Lester because Lester fought, and Ryan's done that before too. Like someone to fight and he'll just call them out because they just fought, and you're kind of trying to piggytail off of them being in the news. But Bud is openly retired. Yeah. It's not like there's any big Terrence Crawford news that broke.
Bud was a welterweight, so they'll say come back down to welterweight and fight.
It was 20 pounds ago.
Yeah.
Like 20 pounds ago.
He only went up for one fight against Canelo. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he could make 47 anymore. Probably not, but they could meet at 54.
So I was there fight week when he fought Errol Spence. That was his last fight at welterweight, and they were both cutting a lot of weight. Bud looked big, and even on fight night, he looked bigger than Spence, which was not to be expected. He's a big 47 pounder. By the time he got to the top and was ready to leave, he had outgrown the weight class. Even at 54, he didn't look bad against Madrimov size wise. I don't think welterweight's even a possibility.
And here's the thing: when you do something like this, and I enjoyed Ryan Garcia's last fight. I think he has world-class ability. Whether he's consistent or not with it is another question, and that's a different conversation. I don't think he's a fraud. I think he's a very good fighter, but he's just very inconsistent. Having said that, how serious is he about chasing greatness, or is it just for the social media? Is it just for the money? Are you trying to be the best, or are you just looking for big names is that more important to you? I feel like boxers today, a lot of these young boxers, not all of them, there's fighters that legitimately chase greatness, but they're just looking for a bag, an influencer type of situation, and everybody's looking for a bag to a degree, because we live in tough times, but you're in your prime. Don't you want to cement some sort of legacy too? Like, you just won a world championship. You want to hold it, defend it.
But he's also got a weight class with a ton of young studs that he can build.
That's what I'm saying. So why are you calling out Terrence Crawford? It'll don't get me wrong. It'll be a lightning bolt post. Sure. I get it. Especially coming from Ryan, who's got a big influencer following. But I don't know. It's like, you want to be great because you have great potential.
But Champ, he's an influence. He has an influencer following. But we're talking about it here on a boxing show.
Yeah.
Ryan
that's what I'm saying.
Moves the needle.
Yeah,
so when he says
I get it.
This,
but
you
it's
gotta
like,
talk about it.
What I'm saying is, anybody who becomes a world champion has at least a great potential. Then whether they go on to become a stellar, great world champion, or if they just win a world title, is another thing. But once you moved into the world championship room, now you're in a room where the potential of greatness is there. You could keep moving ahead on that path. You're calling out Terrence Crawford, who retired, and I don't know. You're just looking for a bag. Then you're not trying to be great. You're just trying to secure money, which I get. You can secure money anyway in any title defense. Maybe not as much as you would in a Crawford fight, but really, if that's your main concern, as opposed to the cementing a legacy and being great and etching your name in history, the way we used to dream about when we were coming up fighting back in our day and before our day. I feel like today the influencer model has sort of skewed that line as far as what the goals are for some of these young guys and some of these young fighters, especially in the West.
I agree. It's probably just a headline. It's probably just throwing it out into the ether so it gets clicks and bites and it gets attention. But at the same time, you got to look at it from a fighter's perspective, because now, listen, like you said, Ryan has always been a fighter. Ryan's very good. He's world class. He's finally won a world title. Hold on. He's finally won a world title. Hold on. He's finally won a world title. And he's in the room now. He is calling out the best fighter of our generation. I get it. You get the opportunity. This is the only chance you would ever have to potentially get in the ring with that level of fighter. I get it. I mean, I got to fight Pacquiao. Didn't get to fight Floyd. You didn't get to fight, Floyd. That was a guy that I'm sure you wanted to fight. He's in the same orbit with this guy. And yeah, Terrence Crawford's retired, but is he fully out the door? Could he be enticed back by another big bag, which a Ryan fight would be a big bag? So maybe this isn't just Ryan doing the influencer thing and just shooting a shot. Be like, if it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't go anywhere. It's a headline people talk about. I'm back in the news. And if it does, maybe Crawford goes, because Crawford is one of those guys, like a Bernard Hopkins. If you call Bernard out, he's fighting you. Crawford may look at this and be like, you know what? I'll get another bag and beat this kid up. Why not?
Crawford's the kind of guy that will approach you in private, though. Away from the cameras and be like, "Look here, young.
Like, are you serious about this?
Look here, young fella. Keep stepping out of pocket, and I'll show you a thing or two." He's that kind of guy. Like, Crawford doesn't really do it for the gram.
But you don't get paid for that. You don't get
paid
for that.
I get it, but Crawford's
too.
also older and more mature at this point. I don't know. Call me crazy. I'd rather see Ryan against like an Arnold Barboza. That's a fight that excites me. That's a boxing match.
There's so many good fights for Ryan. I don't care.
What I'm saying is, they're in the same stable. Barboza's a good fighter. I'd be interested in that fight.
He's got Haney right there. He's got Haney.
Yes, Haney,
the biggest
of course.
fight
Of course.
to make in the U.S. States is is here.
Yeah, that's the biggest
why
fight.
going
But
elsewhere?
nobody's going to rush the Haney Garcia rematch. I think they're trying to
What? How could you rush that? How could
Bro,
you rush
I'll
that
watch
fight?
that
fight could
rematch.
happen
I'll watch
yesterday.
that rematch anytime. What I'm saying
Of
is,
course,
as far as
but-
I don't think
but-
it's realistic
but
right away.
Let's get it while it's hot.
I get it.
Guys
I'm with
lose,
you.
man.
I'm with you. I get it
Fighting
while it's hot.
Rolly's the upset
Yeah,
king.
Rolly's tough for Rolly's
Like,
tough for Haney. I don't think it's a gimme. I think Haney should be favored, and he probably will be. And I favor Haney to win the fight, but I don't think it's a gimme.
fumbling that bag.
Yeah,
dude,
and Rolly is really a slippery guy. It's not a slippery guy as far as boxing style, but a sneaky guy, sneaky good fighter to fight.
Very dangerous.
And Barboza's, can be sneaky too. Barboza, he comes on the right night, he can be a little bit dangerous too for a Ryan Nelson. You'd favor Ryan in that fight too, but Barboza's not a gimme opponent either. He looked good the other night, the other week. It's an easily makeable fight in the same stable. I'd watch it.
I don't think Barboza. I don't think Barboza has anything for Ryan.
No, you don't. You think it's one sided? No, man.
I think it's one sided. I think it's one sided.
I don't think it's one sided. I think Ryan wins, but I don't think it's one sided.
I like Barboza. I like him, but he just doesn't have the gears. He doesn't have the gears. Ryan's all gears.
Super chat for Sal's Dent Works. He says, honey pack for Grumpy Paulie. What do you mean Grumpy Paulie? Guys, I call out everything for you so we can discuss it here. And I'm grumpy? Come on, man. Come on.
Honey pack?
I don't know. It must be an inside joke there.
Guys,
explain what honey pack. Explain what honey pack means.
They think your blood sugar's low. That they need you to get a little.
Magic Man Cho 512 says Norman Jr. probably KOs Rolly. It's actually a good fight, actually.
That's a good fight.
That's a nice fight. Stylistically, that's a nice fight.
And I'm not saying I disagree because Norman can punch, and
but
we've seen
that would be a pretty good contact.
Also, he's
fight.
got a killer left hook.
Yeah,
he's got a killer left hook.
But Rolly can punch a little bit.
Yeah. Rolly's can punch a little bit too, but also he's been stopped by left hands by both Cruz and by Tank. So he's open for that. And listen, Brian Norman, I know he lost to Haney. I know he was supposed to win. I know he got upset. People are writing him off. That's a bad idea. That kid can fight. He's got excellent timing. He's super solid. I'm looking forward to the comeback of Brian Norman Jr. We had him on our air for our Najee Lopez fight because they're old friends. So we got to interview him. He sat down with us. He said he's chomping at the bit to get back in there. And he's got a lot of big fights at that welterweight division where he fits in really nicely.
Mm-hmm. Somebody saying, Chris, be honest, would current Paulie beat current Pac? I don't think current Pac wins many rounds against me, honestly. I don't know. Call me crazy. I know the way I've been fighting and looking. I saw what Pacquiao looked like.
Yeah, but I gotta see you with big gloves on though.
Yeah,
dude. I gotta see you go
good
rounds.
gloves. They're 8 ounces, man. Now, am I gonna get tired?
but
Am I gonna get tired and suck it for the
different.
fight? But
It's different.
Yeah,
rounds, man, rounds. We've spoken.
I don't
about
know, bro. His output ain't what it was.
Level,
he used to have that output.
Level,
he used to have that 25-year-old output even at 40. He didn't have that against Barrios.
Listen, there are things Pacquiao does that are never going to go away. He is a
but
really
most of them
guy
were based on closing the gap real fast.
Yeah, I say this all the time. Because
you said it too, though. But he wasn't calling.
Yeah,
he wasn't doing that against Barrios. He doesn't have those legs that close that gap like that.
Even when I fought him, I mean, listen, I fought him so many years ago, and he was
still
a
good
lot
then.
younger then.
He was still good then.
He was still very good then. But he was also, I was surprised at how smart he was. He was way smarter than people give him credit for. Even after that fight, people were like, Chris, how'd you lose to Pacquiao? He's all over the place.
What do you
I'm
mean
like,
he's
no.
Pacquiao's been beating everybody at that time.
It's controlled. It's controlled. No, his chaos is very controlled, and he's very understanding of the pace. That part of him doesn't go away.
But he can explode closing the gap in. He doesn't. You take that away from Pacquiao, it's not the same Pacquiao anymore.
When he fought Thurman.
Yeah, he was exploding, closing the gap against that first round. He closed that gap and dropped him.
He did early.
Closed the gap like a rocket.
He did early.
That's what he was missing against Barrios, and that was the key thing that made him so difficult, was that ability to explode and close that gap.
I'm not saying you can't beat Pacquiao.
No,
I'm
not saying that.
Because we've seen.
Listen, I'm not the same guy either.
Years old.
Don't get me wrong. I just feel like I look at the way his legs were. And I feel like I got better legs right now, but we'll see if that fight comes.
But listen, guys,
later.
don't go anywhere. We're gonna go to a short commercial break. Stay tuned. We got a special guest coming. I will tell you guys when we're here. Don't go anywhere. Saturday, March 28th, ProBox TV's Contender Series is bringing a storm of flying leather to Thunder Studios in Long Beach. Career fortunes will be on the line in the main event as Mexican super bantamweight warrior Brian Acosta collides with two-time world title challenger Ronnie Rios in a crossroads battle. Then in the co-main event, Rene Tellez-Giron will go 10 rounds or less with 20-2 Mayhem Maliak Montgomery. Welcome back to Pro Box TV Outside the Ropes. We are joined by a special guest, Samuel Contreras. You just fought last night. You scored a knockout in the second round against Cesar Cantu on the undercard of the Lester Martinez, Immanuwel Aleem. Myself, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi were on the call that night. Sam, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time.
No, thank you guys for having me.
Sam,
very impressive the other night. Really liked what we saw.
Appreciate it. Really, thank you. Yeah, it was a good fight. Like you said, it was a good camp, good work with the team. So we went out there and did our job.
Yeah, good execution of the plan there, Sam. There was a rumor I was hearing earlier. Is the commission giving you a problem about this win? What's going on? Am I hearing things, or is that?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I didn't hear nothing.
All right.
About the commission.
All right, good. Yeah, so let's focus on the performance. Really well executed plan. I felt like you let go of your punches nicely from the proper distance. Shows a solid boxing IQ and also an ability to execute that as well. What were your thoughts on Cantu? A little bit awkward, right? Seemed like a durable guy, but you got rid of him.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I kind of expected him to come out a little bit more forward, but like I said, we had a game plan. I went in there and started using my jab, trying to get my distance. But as soon as I got my distance, the other punches were just coming in.
Yeah, Samuel, we really liked what we saw. We saw your high level of your pedigree, of your amateur background. You had that in and out style. You use your length really well. And in the fighter meeting, you told us, you're like, no, I'm a boxer. And a lot of times when you hear that, you're like, oh, this guy's probably not gonna score a knockout. You only at that time you only had 2 KOs in your 5 wins, but you went out there and you were snapping those shots and you were landing them at the right range. And Cantu, who's normally a very durable guy, he had never been stopped. He had been in with top flight opposition, had nothing for you. How did you feel in terms of your power and your development as a professional?
I felt good. I felt my power was there. Of course, there's a lot of things I still got to work on. A few little mistakes, but I felt good overall. I felt really good. I felt strong. Speed, I felt there as well. So, but I felt really good.
You talk about mistakes. What mistakes did you feel like you made?
I didn't see many.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I thought the performance was very solid.
Yeah, no, I feel like I just gotta feel like a little gotta get my distance a little bit more closer. Yeah, there's some punches I feel like I was a little overextending, so I feel like I just gotta work on that. And more busy with my jab. I feel like I need to be a little bit more busy with my jab.
All right.
You've got great reach for lightweight, man.
Yeah,
You're 5'11", 75-inch reach. You use it really well. And that was one of the things I said on the air. Cantu, who's normally taller than everybody, I felt like he really didn't understand the range difference. Like he felt like he was safe, and you were cracking him at the end of your right hands throughout the night. That range control. How'd you feel dealing with someone who's also tall? Cantu's not a short guy.
Yeah, well, I'm used to sparring and training with people that are like my height, so I'm kind of used to it. But I felt like, yeah, I did feel like he kind of didn't expect me to be like fight at the same height as him, which for me is beneficial for me because I have to stay with my height. But it helped me. I feel like it helped me a lot, and it helped me in there to get the second round knockout.
We got a comment here that people are talking about you. Manuel Herrera 744 says, "Great win, congrats, and continued success." So, every performance you get more of a chance to impress people and build new fans. Sammy, that's a good job.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Who were some? I'm curious. Who were some of the fighters you admired growing up? Who you model yourself after? As far as boxing fan base and fandom in general. Who did you like? Who did you like to watch? Who do you try to model yourself after?
Yeah, I will always look up favorite fighter Oscar De La Hoya.
De La Hoya.
My favorite fighter Oscar De La Hoya. I would watch Jorge Linares, Alexis Arguello.
Nice.
Yeah, Chocolatito. So all those fighters, that's what I will watch.
You're a boxing fan,
Yeah.
So you
yeah.
Right.
Thank you for bringing up those names, because a lot of guys your generation, they don't understand how good Oscar De La Hoya was.
Yeah.
I think people know Oscar now as the promoter. They know him from Clapback Thursdays. They don't understand he was an absolute machine in the 90s. When he come out of the Olympics, I mean, he was your favorite fighter's favorite fighter when he was fighting in the 90s and the early 2000s. I mean, well, absolutely beautiful form, killer puncher, great boxing skills, technique, you name it. You mentioned Alexis Arguello, who was my favorite fighter growing up. That was my grandfather's favorite. So that was the guy that I always watch. And another one to throw in there for you, Ricardo Lopez. That would be another guy, I think, Finito, who I think would be another tall, long, technical guy. So all those guys you mentioned, the Arguello, the De La Hoya, like similar to you, tall, technical. Ricardo Lopez is another one, even though he's obviously a super flyweight, but was tall for the weight class, used his height really well, but could also drop that hammer and get knockouts.
Yes, right. Great fighters. I'll watch a lot of footage. I'm old school. I watch old school fighters. Of course, I like the new fighters of now, but yeah, I watch a lot of old school fighters.
Nice.
I don't see that much, Champ. When I talk to these younger guys now, they don't know who anybody is. It blows my mind. So as soon as you said Oscar, I was like, this young man knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. The people forget quick, man. And you would think in the days of internet generations, people would remember some of these guys or be able to watch some of these guys because so much footage is available now, more than in our day. And Sammy, in our day, if we wanted to watch an old school fighter, we had to find the VHS somewhere. Somebody would be selling them. Some obscure guy who answered his phone half the time and you'd have to leave 10 messages and maybe he'd get you a copy. You could buy it from him. Whatnot. It was more complicated.
Do you remember the old KO? Champ, remember the old KO magazines?
Yeah, of course. How do I not?
You'd be able to cut out the little slip and you'd pick the fights that you wanted, you'd little check marks, and you'd mail it in with a check, and they'd mail you a VHS. So like I used to get those DVDs. I have Oscar De La Hoya's entire career, his amateur fights as well.
That's later when the DVD. That's later
that was in the 2000s.
That's later when the DVDs came out, bro. I remember being an amateur. Sammy, this is the struggles of the best generations. Now you just got YouTube and you can watch all these fighters and you can appreciate them. But I remember, bro, in the late 90s, there was a guy from Queens in New York. His name was Cowboy. I still don't know this guy's real name. Everybody just called him Cowboy. And he had all the fights, and you could call him.
Not the naked cowboy, right?
No,
it
wasn't the naked cowboy. Right? No, it wasn't him. But this guy was so grouchy, man. Like he was always pissed off every time you called him. So it was like you had to step on eggshells. He'd hang up the phone on you. He'd answer the phone only once in a blue. But this guy had so many fights you could order from him, but it was impossible to deal with him.
That's called supply and demand,
yes,
Paulie. He
exactly.
had the supply.
He knew
demand
he
was
act
there.
The way
He was in control.
Yeah. Man, but that's what we dealt with. Now you just type something on YouTube. It's great, man. Sammy,
it's Samuel. So it's great to see a young guy who understands what's going on out there.
Great performance.
What's next? Are you hearing anything about what's next? When are you getting back to the gym? Are you a gym rat? Are you getting right back to it? Have you been any discussions on what could be the next fight coming up?
Yeah, of course. I'll always go back to the gym. Rest 2-3 days. Recovery, and we'll talk to my team, Top Rank, see what they have planned for me next.
Excellent.
Good stuff, man. We'll look forward to seeing you again. After that last performance, you created a demand for your next performance, so we'll look forward to it, man.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. See you next time.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure.
Good stuff, man.
All right. I love that, Paul. We had a young guy who actually knows about the history of our sport, which is very rare these days, from my understanding, being in the gym. So that's really nice.
Yeah,
It's
true,
refreshing.
He's a true fan, and he's a true student of the game, which is rare these days, because we live in the clickbait generation where people just click and what is it, slide or scroll real fast. Not be able to sit down and watch an old school fight and enjoy it. That's rare for a young fighter, good, mature young fighter, and we look forward to continuing to watch him, man.
So we got some big news in the sport of boxing outside of the rope stuff. DAZN and Golden Boy re-up their deal. So it's a multi-year deal. We don't have a lot of details, but the writing was kind of on the wall for this, right?
Well, when
because
I saw the
Barboza
still
doing fights,
when I saw the Barboza fight on DAZN, I said, you know what, something's got to be going on over here because they're obviously still working together. I felt like Oscar wasn't sweating it. Oscar, even though there was a lapse and we had all those problems with Virgil Ortiz and what's going on, and Dana White gets on there and goes, Top Rank, the Pop doesn't have a Oscar
network.
Was like
Golden Boy doesn't have a
Oscar
network.
Was like Paulie in Rocky IV. I don't sweat you.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Cool,
calm, and collected. Yeah. Which again, of course, he knew he was in discussions for this deal. These deals take a long time, guys. For a lot of people are not privy of how these kind of deals happen and how long they're under works and the details that have to get ironed out between their teams legally. So they've been in talks, I'm sure, for a while. So Oscar had that in his back pocket, knew that, and that's why he was being so confident, I believe, in what he was saying. But Golden Boy Promotions has inked a multi-year deal with DAZN. covering both regular fights and major events. So that's big news. Another promotion has come to DAZN.
DAZN is cornering the
DAZN's
market,
doing
bro. I know, bro.
DAZN
drawing the line in the sand with Zuffa. Zuffa talked. I think
so
Zuffa
we got
off to too much of a start talking, and they allowed the enemy to align their guns against them.
They allowed them to come together.
That's what I'm saying. They
put the artillery together.
That's why there's that saying, gangsters move in silence. They came up, they started talking about they're going to take over the sport, and literally the entire sport has banded against them. And its network, DAZN, has literally banded against Paramount and saying, no, you're not grabbing anybody. We're just going to corner the entire market. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds, this shapes up, because I think in our case, as far as fans, we are fans of the sport. I think it's going to force good fights to happen from both sides, because now they're going to be competing against one another. Like, yeah, well, you guys got everybody. What we got, we're going to make good fights. And then obviously the zone says, yeah, we got a bigger stable. We're going to make better fights. I think it's the hope.
Really good. Boxing's really good. Boxing's really good at shooting yourself in the foot.
Bro, I'm telling you right now, if you shoot yourself in the foot right now when this battle line's been drawn, you're gonna wind up shooting yourself in the head and ending yourself in that way. You know,
boxing's good at that. But listen, we got DAZN has Matchroom. It's got Top Rank. It's got Golden Boy. It's got Queensberry. Am I missing one? I think I'm missing one. Who else are we missing?
Everybody except Zuffa.
I mean, those are huge.
Everybody except Zuffa. Oh no, MVP's at ESPN. MVP's at ESPN.
MVP is at ESPN.
And ironically, Sky has done a deal both with Zuffa and MVP as well. So Sky has but Sky is also just for the UK. You know, we don't have.
We got a lot of overlapping spheres, but this is it's an interesting time. I mean, we love talking about fights. We'd much rather be talking about things within the ropes, but we got to talk about this stuff outside the ropes because it does affect us as fans. Because we all fans here. Paulie and I know we're pundits and we're former champions, but we're still fans of the sport. So getting to see all these companies and promotions
PBC's
come
at
together.
Amazon. Dr. Boxing Talk. How could I forget? Dr. Box Talk. Thank you.
There you go.
PBC's at Amazon.
The other major.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, which is a big network as well. So,
but they only do pay-per-views.
Seems like we're in a good place.
Right, PBC and the Amazon deal is a little bit of a weird one. It's mostly.
What do they do with all their fighters though? They got a whole roster of guys that need to have fights. I mean, a couple guys have fought on our air before.
Yeah, some of them fight on the zone at times. You know, right?
Yeah,
we've seen Rolly versus Ryan was on the zone, for example, right? Rolly is a PBC fighter, no?
That was one of the ring cards though. The ring is weird. The ring kind of like brings everybody together.
They dabble
in their own major
into
events.
Everything. Look, talk. FOSD says, I was ready to cancel DAZN until they started signing up all the promotions.
Oh, so that was actually, Champ, that was my next point. Thank you for that, for bringing that up, because now it's making, the price tag of DAZN is so high. I don't even know what it is at this point. I got to check my credit card statement.
Matt Borgerson's back. Hold on. We got Matt.
Hold on. Wait. He can wait. He can wait.
Go ahead.
So we've got, you've got this big price tag, which makes the barrier to entry for boxing so hard, which is hurting not only the fans because they got to come out of their pocket and pay, but it's hurting the fighters because you're not being able to build superstars. It's hurting the promotions. Now you've got this big dollar amount, but it's more and more. It's like, you know what? It's worth it. All my favorite fighters are now in the same place.
Yeah.
So it's worth paying that big nut every month. If you're a big
boxing fan, you got to have DAZN now. It's basically become a hub at this point. Matt Borgerson, a little bit different topic, but how does it feel as a fighter when you know you were at your best, did everything you could, and it still wasn't enough? How did you overcome that feeling to where you just knew you weren't there? Matt, you know what? Either, for me, I'll let you answer after. For me, it was either I said, okay, I'm just too old for this, or I made excuses in my head and said, nah, I didn't perform because such and such or this and this. So fighters love making excuses. We call them reasons, because otherwise, if we accept that we just weren't good enough, we can't continue. That's it. If you accept that you just weren't good enough, you might as well retire and do something else for a living. So you have to sort of brainwash yourself in that way, or you get to the end of your career where I was at the end of my boxing career, and again, I was still trying. My problem at the end of my boxing career, where I was trying to train like I did when I was a world champion, in my mid-30s, in my mid to late 30s, and my body wasn't reacting the same way anymore. I had to taper off and try to change the way I train, which is what I do now. I train very differently now. I was too attached to the way I train as a champion back then. So you either are done or you make excuses. That's how so we never actually do come to terms with being at our best and not being good enough. Go ahead, Jim.
I don't call
What's
them excuses. I
Reasons.
call them delusions.
Reasons.
No, delusions.
Reasons is a better word.
No. Fighters need to be delusional. You need to be delusional. You need to think that you're King Kong. And when you stop thinking you're King Kong, when you stop making those quote unquote, like you're saying, excuses. Yeah, I lost because of this. You've lost the way. You're not that guy anymore. And you gotta think about doing something else. Or you're not trying to be a world champion anymore. Because I always said, if I didn't see myself being a world champion, I have no reason to fight. And once I realized that I wasn't going to be a world champion, I couldn't get through the camps, I couldn't get in the shape that I needed to be in order to get to that level. I was like, all right, I'm done. This sport's way too dangerous. If I can't be a world champion, if I can't see myself at the top of the weight class, I'm either in the wrong weight class or I'm in the wrong sport. So if you don't think that you're the man, and when you do fall short, you're like, I just executed the wrong game plan. I had an injury going in. All those things you're talking about. I think we just have different mindsets and words that we're using. It's basically a battle of semantics. But yeah, no, I agree. I think you have to be delusional about what you are and what you can do. Because listen, man, what we do is really hard. It's the hardest sport in the world by far. A 12-round championship level contest is physiologically, mentally, psychologically, everything. It is the hardest sport in the world. There's no question about it. And
there was something
and you're competing with other guys who feel the same way. So if you're behind in thoughts, you're behind in everything.
There was actually a survey or something. Remember, these experts try to pick out the most difficult sports to compete in or something like that, and boxing came in first. Remember that? Did you remember that a couple years back?
It always does. ESPN did that a number of years ago. They did it again recently.
Boxing was number one because it stresses you both from a physical standpoint and from a mental standpoint to a much higher degree. It really is.
It's high-speed chess with dire consequences. Yeah, high-speed chess with dire consequences. You're getting punched in your brain, and you have to make decisions. It's the hardest sport in the world, no question. And there's no tag outs. There's no teammates. There's no one can help you.
Yeah, and Mighty Brooke says hardest sport in the world. Chris is right. We agree. That's for sure.
No question. All right, we are joined by Stephen Breadman Edwards. Breadman, welcome to the show. We love having you on here. We love having the insight. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. I was running a little late at the gym today, man. I was flying up the highway to get on.
Well, hope you didn't get any speeding tickets, man.
We're here. We don't want any speeding tickets. We want everybody to be safe. And if there's ever a good excuse, it's being late coming from the gym. So we'll let that one pass today. No problem.
What do you got, Brad? What's your thoughts on this weekend's fights? We had Lester Martinez,
Carlos Adames.
Lester Martinez, this is not a criticism. This is an observation. He boxed more than I expected him to. He was like, he showed little different layers to his game. Like I thought he was going to be more on a David Benavidez kind of style because Aleem is a ex-60 pounder and he had been stopped before. But Martinez actually boxed and started counterpunching. It's not a criticism, but it kind of like surprised me a little bit because I thought he would be more in destroyer mode, and I honestly thought that the fight would have a knockout in it. And I thought he would score a knockout. So when he started boxing, I'm like, wow, that's an interesting layer to his game. It was more something I wasn't expecting. But he did good.
That's a great point, Brent. I actually wanted to ask Bo Mac that earlier, but we got tied up. We ran out of time. But I don't necessarily look at Lester as that big puncher anymore. I saw his boxing skills, and he's got a deep bag, obviously. And I thought he boxed really well. And when he was pot shotting, got on his toes, started moving, took some power off the shots. I thought he was really, really effective and got some really good rhythm in his legs and his upper body. Do you think we're seeing an evolution, or are we seeing a revelation in that maybe Lester isn't that big puncher and he actually is more of a boxer puncher?
You know what, Chris? I would have loved for you to ask Bo Mac so we could kind of figure out if that was part of the game plan. Because Aleem is from DC, and even though he's not looked at as the bigger, stronger guy, DC fighters, I'm sure you guys know this from the amateurs, they like it when you come to them. They like it in the phone booth. Like Lamont Peterson. Lamont Peterson wasn't really known as a big puncher, but if you get in the phone booth with him, he was at home. So maybe that was part of their game plan. I'm curious to know whether that was a mid-fight adjustment, or that's something that they saw. But I kind of agree with you, Chris. I wonder, I'm like, damn, maybe Lester is more of an all-around fighter than he is the destroyer and the puncher. And I always say you find out what a guy is at the top level, because we've seen guys have these glossy KO percentages. early in their career, and then when they step up, they become more of the all-around fighter, and it's a little bit different once you get to the top level. So maybe that's what he is more so than just a destroyer that's 19-0, well, 20-0 now with 16 knockouts, because that's a pretty high KO percentage. It impressed me, but it did make me say, damn, I didn't think he would fight him like that. I thought he was going to just walk out and just step to him and just try to knock his head off, but he actually boxed more. But Aleem had some success. Aleem was landing a little left hook. And just because a guy is a little smaller than you, that doesn't mean he can't hurt you. All punches hurt. So you never know how he felt in there, but it was interesting what he did.
Yeah, Brett, I noticed about halfway through the fight, Lester made a clear adjustment. He started pot-shotting more. He was pot-shotting a little bit throughout the fight in spots, but I think it got to the midway point, and I started noticing, one adjustment and one lack of adjustment. The adjustment for Lester was the pot-shotting, where he said, okay, let me just make sure I win these rounds. This guy's not going anywhere. It's almost like he came to terms with the fact that this guy wasn't going anywhere. And the lack of adjustment on Aleem was he stopped throwing unless he got in range, and he tried to just walk himself into range without punching his way into range, without being deceptive getting into range. And so he was just coming forward. So those pot shots ended up winning Lester a lot of rounds, while Aleem was tough trying to get to him, but not in no such creative ways, which is what you need at a higher level. You know what,
Paulie? I don't really think it was a lack of adjustment. I think Aleem did the best he could. I don't think he could give any more than
just not. But
I thought he overperformed.
I think he did. What I'm saying is that I thought there needed to be an adjustment as far as if he was creative in closing the gap. Because closing the gap, when he got close, like in the 11th round, when he landed the big left hook. He did some work. He did some good work on.
He started that off with the body shots.
Close.
He caught Lester early to the body, and Lester was feeling a little faded.
Once Lester's pot shotting, it makes it more difficult because now Lester establishes a certain mid range distance more consistently when he's pot shotting, and Aleem just didn't adjust to the need to close the gap. He just thought he was just going to keep walking forward, and the door was just going to be open for him, which sometimes it happens in those Philadelphia and DC kind of gyms where guys just meet in the middle. They don't really have to earn their way into the pocket. They just kind of decide to meet in the pocket and fight, and that's a problem sometimes when gyms like that, because then you learn that in a fight against a slickster or against a guy who's going to box you, you're not just going to be able to meet in the middle and fight in the pocket. There's not going to be that agreement. You're going to have to earn the pocket, and I felt like Aleem never really earned the pocket. He was just trying to walk into it, and Lester's like, nah, not anymore. I'm done with this. In this second half of the fight, I'm going to pot shot you.
I think Aleem was caught by surprise by Lester's style as much as we probably were. I think he was like, damn, okay, he's a bigger, stronger guy. He's supposed to be a killer. Let me see what he wants to do, and let me step to him. And I think that kind of threw him off. If you guys remember, when Julian Williams fought Jarrett Hurd, everybody was saying Jarrett Hurd would be the stronger guy and could meet him, beat him on the inside. But that's what we wanted. We wanted that for that fight. So we just kind of just met there, but Hurd didn't decide to make the adjustment that Lester did. You know what I mean? So I think that it was the same kind of mindset where everybody going into the fight had this preconceived notion that Lester would be the bigger, stronger puncher and be the better fighter on the inside. And I think that Lester felt something with Aleem, like, I don't know, maybe it was power, but maybe craft. Like, maybe this guy's a little too slippery in here. Let me box him, make him pick up his feet, and see if he can handle that. But I thought Aleem overperformed, man. He fought his ass off. He's an older guy, he's a smaller guy. Lester Martinez has a case for being the best super middleweight in the world. And Aleem, was there, he was thumping all the way to the end. He did the best he could for what he has in his arsenal. I was impressed with him.
Brett, he made every round competitive. Aleem, he was in every round. He made Lester work really hard, and Lester won majority of the rounds. It wasn't a close fight on the scorecards, but every round Lester had to work. I saw it like this. I saw early on Lester went out in that first round like we all thought. Or what most boxing people thought. Lester's too strong. Lester's too big. Aleem has been stopped. Lester's going to knock him out. And he went out there trying to land big shots, and he did. He landed some really clean, nasty shots. One uppercut hit him, right under the chin. It was a beautiful shot. And Aleem ate it and looked at him like, now what? And I think both of them made a decision right there. Aleem goes, I can take this guy's power. And Lester said, this guy's going to be here. So that with the fight, I thought there was a transition. Both men made transitions after that. But I think that Lester was able to transition better, smarter, and more often as the fight wore on. I think he's just better all around. But Aleem was no pushover by any means.
Dr. Boxing Talk says in our chat, I actually thought it was a combination of Lester deciding to box more and Aleem anticipating him to mix it up more. Meaning, I think Aleem made Lester adjust, but Aleem didn't think he would adjust. So Aleem forced Lester to adjust, but Aleem didn't think Lester would adjust. Yeah, I can agree with that. I can vibe with that.
I kind of steel man what I just said.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that analysis. Whoever that guy is, he knows what he's talking about.
That's Dr. Boxing Talk. On a lot of our chats are.
It's a good name, Doctor. If you're called Dr. Boxing Talk, you better know some boxing. To get a PhD in boxing is not easy.
Jesus M2159 says, did Lester get thrown off by fighting only coming forward, like in Billy versus Aleem? I guess maybe he wanted to start fast. I guess but I think he adjusted well again, right? I think that's. I
think he showed a lot more versatility than he did in the Billy fight. He actually
Steve
got
Macau 7663 says both Boots and Zayas are teasing their fights on Twitter. It might happen, guys. What do you think of that?
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. They are. It does seem like it's moving forward. I don't know how
the
close that
DAZN
really is,
combination. That's what I'm telling you. Is the DAZN combination? Everybody going to the zone makes these fights easier to make. So I'm telling you.
The fight that isn't the fight that we want. Boots and Virgil like that. Now that Golden Boy is in the mix now with DAZN.
I know.
Can we revisit that?
We
fight?
can revisit it, but
Ortiz
there's a Virgil and Golden Boy problem though, and that's still going on. And that's
but is there still a problem if he has a network now? If you have a network and you can bring me fights, is there still a problem?
I mean, from Virgil's side, from Oscar's side, there's no problem. With Virgil's side, I guess there's still a problem.
I think it's an issue with Virgil's manager. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Him and Oscar are not seeing eye to eye.
Yeah, Rick and Oscar are not seeing eye to eye. Exactly. Yeah, and then that has.
Yeah, but you know what brings eyes to eyes? Money, green. If they got a deal and they can make a big fight.
That's what the disagreement must be about. It must be about money, no?
I mean, there's more money in the pot now. There's actually a network deal. They can garner more or negotiating power now. I think this changes things up quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, look,
the new deal that is.
I'd love
Brad,
that fight too.
You heard about the deal. You came on a little bit after we spoke about that, but the new deal,
Golden Boy and DAZN,
Golden Boy and DAZN, they're back together.
Guess who's back in the circle of trust? You see that?
Yeah, that circle of trust is getting pretty big.
Mm-hmm. All right, man. So that's that. What'd you think of Adames, Brad? What'd you think of his performance?
Yeah. As you guys know, I had a guy go up against Adames a few years back, and Chris just brought up that he doesn't think that Lester may not be the puncher that we all thought he was. I think that that's what Adames is. I think Adames is more of that all-around strong guy than this dynamic puncher that he was, billed to be. Because he hasn't scored a clean knockout in like 4 or 5 years, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And he obviously can punch.
It's tough when you move up so many weight classes. Going up weight classes and bringing power is really rare.
Well, see, the thing is that though, Chris, he didn't win titles at this lower weight classes. He just fought there. So people don't really know that he started out as a welterweight. But you're right, because he's hitting guys on the money with big shots and they're not going anywhere. But I was really impressed with his adjustments because Ammo Williams is a solid guy, but he was very determined. He's very strong. He was throwing some big, hard,
very athletic,
and he was there to stay.
Guys, there's a. Go ahead, finish your thought, Brad, because it's a breaking news in the comment section. But finish your thought.
But when you fight a guy like that, that's not easy to deal with, man. He was throwing some very, very hard punches, man. He was super determined, and he has a really capable coach in Kevin Cunningham. So I was impressed with Adames was able to stay calm, and he did something that I thought was really, really productive for him. Ammo Williams was punching hard. He was loading up, and Adames was just touching. And you'll see a lot of guys, when one guy tries to punch him really hard, he'll try to punch really hard back and start loading up. You guys were pure boxers, so you don't have to go through that. But you'll see that in the gym where one guy starts loading up, then the other guy starts loading up. Well, when Ammo was loading up, Adames was just touching. And what that did was, after Ammo would shoot a big volley, he would have to take a break. He would get tired. He would need a rest. He would go out fast in the first 30 seconds of a round, and then he would spend the whole rest of the round recovering, and Adames was just working. So their IQ and Adamez's ability to not overdo it, allow him to stay stronger longer. That's why, he was winning most of the fight, but he really took over late because every time Amir would open up, he would need a break. Where Adamez was just nice and calm and just touching and not trying to load up on his shot. So I was impressed with his IQ. Solid performance, but I don't think Adamez is the puncher that we thought he was.
All right, guys. So the breaking news in the comments are going crazy over it. That's why we love you guys in the comments. So you guys sometimes are ahead of the curve with us. Jai Opetaia has indeed been stripped by the IBF. So that settles that. Jai Opetaia has been stripped of his cruiserweight.
Officially stripped.
The IBF cruiserweight
so
title.
the IBF title is vacant now.
So credit
at
to
cruiserweight.
Credit to the IBF for holding their ground.
They're always the guys who do that,
Yeah,
though. If anyone does it, the first ones in line to hold and stick true to the letter of the law is the IBF.
Yeah, and to Jai's credit, he really was trying to unify the belts. He had mentioned it. He was, but this is what you guys want. This is what I talk about with Zuffa, dude. You're gonna go by their rules. You sign with them. You are gonna go by their rules, and that's it. You're not gonna have any options to discuss it and let's talk about it. There's pros and cons to every situation. That was going to happen. I mean, it was going to get interesting. We were talking about it as far as, maybe they're going to work together. Maybe they're not going to work together. No, the IBF said, nah, bro, we're not working with these guys. And
now the question becomes, does Jai and his team give up on their dream of being cruiserweight undisputed or undisputed in general?
Let me correct
or
that.
do they go vie for those belts?
Let me correct that. Jai has no choice but to give up that dream because you're in a Zuffa contract. And like I just said, there is no flexibility of movement. That is a dead dream. That's it. You are not unifying.
Well,
you're not.
Maybe, but to push back on that, because they still do say, like, well, we're going to, they said it for Jai. They're going to allow him to fight for titles. Granted, he got stripped this time, but it doesn't mean he can't go try and win it again.
Okay, so the other sanctioning bodies you say will do this. I mean, the writing's on the wall with these guys. You know what they're going to, even if they work with you now, they're eventually looking to phase you out. So the IBF realizes and says, you know what? No, but go ahead.
Listen, for example, the fight on May 2nd with Zurdo and Benavidez. Mm-hmm. It's for the WBO and the WBA. And then the WBC wanted to make another belt to have for them. We spoke about this last week, the three of us actually. Mm-hmm. And then I believe it was the WBA decided they weren't going to sanction the fight because the WBC was trying to put in that belt. So you do see strife between the governing bodies, but it's not all one way. Some are willing to play ball, some are not. I guess it depends on the situation and the scenario. So it's not a foregone conclusion.
But Benavidez and Zurdo are not Zuffa fighters.
I understand that, but I'm not talking about I'm talking about the governing bodies and themselves in terms of how they operate now and seem to be moving. Mm-hmm. Because listen, if Dana has a press conference and goes, the IBF, they stripped him, but he's allowed to go fight for the other titles because that's his dream. Mm-hmm. Is the IBF not going to allow him to fight for those titles now? I don't know. If they stick to their guns, yes, but we've seen in boxing people acquiesce all the time, and governing bodies and promoters acquiesce as well.
I don't know, man, but they've also never been directly threatened like Zuffa did, or like Zuffa threatened them, Whoa TF 8567 is a super chat. He says, the Muhammad Ali Revival Act vote is tomorrow, guys. What do we think of this? Big day. Big day big day for boxing in the Senate, in the Congress, right?
Hey, Paulie, let me say something though. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say the person's name because they're a real prominent figure in boxing, but they said this to me, and I think you're going to agree with this sentiment. Mm-hmm. The Muhammad Ali Act in itself is not a bad thing, but it really doesn't have any teeth.
It doesn't.
If you violate it,
and I'm going to push back.
But if you violate it, nothing ever really happens.
Yeah, I get it. But here, let me give you the other side of this, though. Okay, like for example, I'm going to give you the other side of this. And we'll use UFC as our model because the UFC doesn't have an Ali Act, right? With the UFC, there is no violation of it because it doesn't exist. But if you believe the promotion that you main evented in, that this show made $60 million and your cut is $750,000. And you want to say, no, I deserve more, you don't get a say. Like I said, with these guys, with the contract you sign, you're dead in the water. What you're getting is what you're getting. You have no fight. You have no arbitration. You have no court. You will not win in court because there's no Ali Act, and you have nothing to fight for. In boxing, yes, there's no teeth. It's tough to the way it's made right now. It's tough to enforce it. But there are fighters, and there have been fighters who have the balls to take their promoter to court and audit and get the paperwork. And obviously, you need money to do this, unfortunately, because the Ali Act itself has no teeth.
More than balls.
The Ali Act unfortunately has no teeth. So in order to do this, you have to have the money and the balls to push forward and take them to court. You can take them to court, and then suddenly the Ali Act, you know what happens? It has teeth in court. Because now the audits will prove that the law has to be enforced, the Ali Act is a law. So it's difficult to enforce with no teeth, okay? It doesn't just get enforced. Unfortunately, a fighter has to go through all the motions of doing this, and sadly, only fighters with the money who make enough money can push this and fight this. But we've seen it fought in court, and fighters have won when it's happened because that's where the teeth do come in. Now, ideally, the Ali Act should be given more teeth to where a fighter doesn't have to spend the money in court in order to have it enforced, okay? If they don't trust the promoter, because who trusts the promoter, really? I mean, not to say all promoters are bad, but listen, everybody's battling for their money, and a lot of schemes happen. We've seen that in boxing. But at least it has more teeth than if not existing. That's what I'm saying. A fighter can go to court and battle in court and say, no, I don't believe at this. I want to see all the audits. I want to fight it. And their lawyer, again, it costs money. It takes time, unfortunately. But you can enforce it. You can have it enforced. The way you do the Muhammad Ali Act is not to eliminate it. It's to give it more teeth so fighters don't have to freaking pay all this money in court to try and lose time on their careers in order to have it enforced and benefit from it. Because it was made for fighters to be able to benefit from it, not to have to fight tooth and nail in court for years to have it enforced.
Hey, Paulie, that was an awesome answer. And I'm glad you said that because you're right. It doesn't have teeth on the surface, but if you do have the resources, you have teeth in court. Because I do know of a case.
There have been several. Go ahead.
Cameron Duncan.
Yeah, one of them's right here. Me.
Yeah.
I use the Muhammad Ali back, and I paid for my fight, and it helped me out tremendously.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Cameron Duncan took Gary Shaw to court for James Kirkland. A lot of people don't know that, but
interesting.
Me and Cameron got pretty cool as the years went on, and we talked about that. And actually, Gary Shaw admitted that to me. They both passed away now, but he took Gary Shaw from James Kirkland because of the Muhammad Ali Act.
Oh, he took James Kirkland from Gary Shaw, you mean?
Yeah. He took James Kirkland from Gary Shaw. I'm sorry. Thanks for correcting me.
Yeah.
But he took James Kirkland from Gary Shaw because of a Muhammad Ali Act violation. But Cameron Duncan is one of the top 10 managers to ever live in boxing. Yeah. And he's a very resourceful guy. Most people don't have that, a Cameron Duncan by their side.
Yeah.
So you're right. If you have the resources, then you can do it. But most fighters don't have the resources. Most fighters don't.
But the thing is, that's why it cannot be eliminated. You cannot have this thing eliminated.
No, it has to be expanded.
It has to be expanded.
It has to be restructured and expanded.
At the very worst, it has to at least remain the way it is, because even the way it is, like we just talked about, there are still ways to have it enforced. As opposed to the other option, like I said, is the UFC option. These poor guys on the other side are miserable. And I was actually fighting for their benefit until they all turned against me in the McGregor thing. Then I was like, you know what? Go all become broke. I don't care for any's. I was actually trying to fight for it. I was in DC. I was lobbying and all this other stuff way back in the day for this thing to be expanded more. So
let me ask you something, Paulie and Chris, because I don't know this part. Who's fighting for the Muhammad Ali Act? In court, there's two sides. So they're going to court for the Revival Act. We already know who wants the revival, but I want to know who's fighting for the Muhammad Ali Act. Is it anybody like prominent? Do you know what you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, who's representing?
Yeah. Who's representing? I'm not sure. I mean, so a lot of some of the promoters have come out and spoke about it. And Thomas Hauser did a big article and actually quoted me from one of our shows here on and I said that exactly what we're talking about here, that it needs to be expanded and grown upon, not taken apart or gotten rid of in any way. It needs to be expanded and given teeth. But there are some promoters who did speak out, like Oscar De La Hoya spoke out against it. A lot of them stayed off the record and spoke for it, but I don't know how far that goes. I don't know if that means that they're going to actually lobby to go down, put their resources, put their time, put their energy, show up. I'm not exactly sure who actually is fighting for it. The problem is, though, that those who are fighting against it, have a big war chest and are very powerful and have a lot of influence in the sport. So it's a tough battle.
In the sport of boxing, I would have gladly fought for it. To keep it in the sport of boxing, I would. Like I said, I'll strictly fight for it within the sport of boxing. But I don't know. I don't even know who these people are that's fighting for it or against it. I mean, I know we know who's fighting against it. They've made it clear. But as far as the side in court that's fighting for it, I haven't heard. I haven't heard from.
I think that's important that we know who's fighting for it, because who's fighting for it would mean a lot with the representation. If it's guys like you guys that have experience in it if there's certain promoters. I'm just curious because I really don't know. This is a honest question.
Sadly, you mentioned Cameron Duncan, who did a great job in enforcing it against Gary Shaw back in the day. Sadly, Cameron Duncan's passed away, so you wouldn't even be able to use him as an asset in this fight. You know.
Yep. Yeah, that's part of the problem. The old guard is passed on, is moved on, and is not.
Ironically,
not
so is Gary
fight.
Shaw, he's also passed on, and who's on the other side of that. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how this plays. That's a big day, big day. That was a great comment. That was a great super chat comment to remind us about the Aliak tomorrow. But back to this
year is flying by, man. It's already here. You know, they were talking about that, but
yeah. So what happens with if the Aliak gets nullified? I mean, do we become the UFC eventually? Is it a slow?
Well, I think it gives more power to Zuffa and what they're looking to do. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's it's an end all be all. That's a stopgap for them that they're trying to get out of the way. But it doesn't necessarily mean that look, we're talking about this right now. Look at all the DAZN has done. They've garnered all the old guard. Will the other promoters utilize the new Muhammad Aliak and try and look around? Of course, they're lawyers, they're smart, they know how to utilize the legal bindings and whatnot. But I don't know how much is going to change right away.
Cialome has a good comment saying, does the Ali Act only apply in the U.S.? What happens overseas in the U.K. fights? The Ali Act is enforced only in the U.S. I don't think it is. Because one of the things the Ali Act also. That's the biggest problem with the Ali Act. Yeah, and that was one of the things that was also in the Ali Act was that you could not manage and promote as the same fighter. The manager and promoter have to have a firewall in between them because they're direct.
That's called double dipping.
Yeah, they're negotiating against one another, and that's why, for example, Cameron was able to take Gary Shaw to court is because the manager is always trying to get more for his fighter, and the promoter is obviously trying to keep as much as he can, and that's where the negotiation comes in from the package that comes from the TV network. So you cannot have a manager and promoter. That was one of the biggest parts of the Ali Act as well, where the same side is managing and promoting the fighter, because then nobody's really negotiating on behalf of the fighter. Everybody's just negotiating from their side and giving you what's left. So that was a big deal. Remember Don King, all his fighters, Carl King used to manage them. I mean,
I was just about to say that when I was younger. I would say, damn. How does Carl King negotiate against his dad?
He doesn't. Easy. He doesn't. he doesn't. And that's why the Ali Act had to get made, bro.
Listen, this was before I ever got into boxing. I used to always wonder. I used to literally say, I used to ask my grandpa, like, how does that work? How do you go fight and break your dad's balls over a few $100,000? How does that work?
Yeah.
And my grandpa answered me exactly how you did, Paul. He said it doesn't fucking happen.
No, it doesn't happen because Don says, here, son, take this for your pocket, and you know what? Don't negotiate against me. You know what I mean? That's how it works. Unfortunately.
Oh,
man, but yeah, somebody else was asking. I forgot. I lost my place here, but somebody else was asking, what amendments are they looking to amend in the Ali Act? So, I mean, what are we looking at? If basically
all the things that were not allowed, the rankings, having your own organization, own ranking system, and be able to have your own governing. Basically, the governing body and promoter being the same thing, but also the manager and the promoter being the same thing. So all of that's pretty much wiped away. But there's some other things that are positive for fighters, like in terms of insurance and minimum pays, but they're all kind of small fish kind of things. The big ones are those we're talking about.
The maximum pays is topped.
The ceilings, the caps are more dangerous. Yeah.
Frank -OR9DE says Dana wants to fight Eddie 4 rounds, MMA or boxing. Dana seems a bit unhinged lately, but apparently Sunday it's for Zuffa now. Well, Sunday is for Zuffa. I like that, actually. I like that there's Zuffa fights on Sunday because they don't compete with anybody else. We can actually watch Friday, Saturday, and then also Sunday. That I don't have a problem with. Dana fighting anybody? Nah, bro. This was a Thai bone instructor. He talks like he's going to fight. Remember back in the day he was going to fight Theodore Ortiz. That's just him doing his Vince McMahon. He's never going to fight anybody. He doesn't have the balls, nor is he tough enough, nor does he know how to fight, for that matter. So, no, Dana just... I think Eddie beats him up, actually. I saw Eddie box. Remember that Frank Smith body shot? Eddie knows how to have a reach. Eddie beats up Dana, in my opinion. But you know what? I would watch it. They could do it for charity, and I would watch it. But I don't think Dana...
That would be an absolute sideshow. Let's talk about real boxing.
But Dana's never going to do it.
Did you see that Anthony Joshua has been back in training, and we've actually seen him with Alexander Usyk and his people? They're swinging around some kettlebells. What's your take on Anthony Joshua looking to make a return sometime this summer?
Kettlebell's a good workout.
Joshua is a guy that gets a lot of flack, right? But I got a lot of respect for Joshua, man, because first of all, his resume is top notch. If you look at his resume, the undefeated fighters that he fought, the back-to-back guys, Joshua has, as far as who has been willing to fight who in this era, he has the best heavyweight resume. He's also suffered some nasty knockouts, and he hasn't like cowered away from taking tough fights after that.
Great point.
I think Usyk is such a phenomenal fighter, but he's also a sportsman where you don't mind making friends with him after you fight him. There's some guys that are kind of like, they rub it in your face. They say certain things. Usyk never talks trash. He's very honorable. So it's a little easier to make friends with him after a fight. And I think that's good for Joshua's confidence because what he went through with his friends dying in the car wreck. And Usyk like messed him up mentally a little bit. Remember when he got in the ring and he was like talking crazy about like what happened after the rematch?
Yeah, I remember that.
I think that's good for him because Usyk can give him a calming presence. He can like tell him certain things that he does to kind of like get over the hump as far as certain areas. Because I think Joshua was a terrific fighter, but I think Joshua was plagued with anxiety. I think he's a guy that in certain parts of a fight, he gets a little bit of anxiety and he's trying to figure out like, why is this cruiserweight who's supposedly not a big puncher, why is he more calmer than I am under pressure? Why can he take my shots better than I can take his? So I think that Usyk is good for Joshua, actually. I think it's like even though he fought, it's like a mentorship.
Yeah, did you notice Alexander Usyk did that with Daniel Dubois also after their fight? He grabbed him and he said, "Hey man, you're really good. You still got a lot. You're young. He's like, and it pushed Dubois. Dubois went on a real run after that and had a really good run of fights. Was the underdog on top over and over and over again, and then he came back to see Usyk again, and Usyk starched him. But Usyk does have that kind of like uncle, calming presence.
And his personality allows him to be successful. He doesn't get too high. He doesn't get too low. He handles the moment for what it is. He doesn't make a big deal about it. You guys are just talking about fighters. Fighters go through so much with anxiety and different things like that. The way Usyk copes with the pressure of the moment is what these other guys are looking for. And I think that's why they kind of like run to him. So I actually think that's a good thing for Joshua. I think he can learn a lot from Usyk, not just on the physical side with the kettlebells. That looked great. But I think it's more of a mental thing of being composed under fire and learning how to disperse your energy and not getting so tired and burnt out in the fight and falling apart late in the fight where the fatigue sets in. Because that's all Usyk does is he stays right with those guys to a certain part of the fight. And then when they get tired, he just takes off.
So like a marathon runner. He's like a runner. He's like a long distance runner. You run with me until you run out of steam, and I'm going to run away with it.
Then I'll step on you. Yeah. So I think that they go to him for that. So I actually think that can help Joshua, believe it or not.
I agree 100%, Brett. I'm a guy. I've been a big fan of Anthony Joshua for a long time, and with him, it's not the physicality, it's the psychology. That's the only thing that's plagued him because physically he's got everything.
You can tell he's going through something in his fight. You can like tell that he. But the thing that impresses me the most is he's going through it, and then the next fight he'll go out and fight another tough guy.
Yeah, but it makes him endearing too, though. It makes him endearing because the fans can see the vulnerability, but he's still such a presence and such a beast. When he came over here for the Jake Paul fight, everyone I spoke to, because we're in South Florida, so like I was people who were in touch with him. I got to meet, and everyone who touched that guy was like, man, his presence, he's great. He's so positive. He's this and that. It's a very likable guy.
The it factor,
he's got it. He's a star.
Factor. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments about one person said actually AJ versus Jared Anderson. That does Sayalome said that, but mostly still about the Zuffa stuff. Dana said to judge Zuffa by the end of the year. Dr. Boxing Talk said that they did have a hearing in Congress. Not one fighter showed up. Unfortunately, it's a bad look. Guys, nobody contacted me. I don't know who they're contacting. I don't know what side what side what that
I
side
didn't even
that's
know
fighting,
about it.
because guys like Breadman didn't get contacted. I didn't get contacted. If they're fighting for it,
Yeah.
they could let the fight at least the fighters that know how to speak, and the people in boxing know how to speak. They could reach
Paulie,
out
that's
to
why I asked who's representing the Ali X side, because that's
Yeah.
whoever's doing that.
Yeah,
that should be
they're not
public
doing a
announcement.
great job of
Somebody
reaching
should
out
come
to the
support.
people that are supposed to be being reached out to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the problem, the organization, and that's always been the problem. Like people are like, oh, we need a unified body of fighters. Like the communication is the problem.
Very tough,
and that's
very tough.
Very tough.
Also, different levels of intelligence. Unfortunately, like you need a hierarchy as far as something like that. Even with like an NFL or an NBA players union, there's certain guys that are at the top that are there to represent the rest of the players because they're smarter. They're a little bit more hip to what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like it can't just be a free for all. And unfortunately, a lot of times in boxing, things like that become a free for all anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Real quick, did you guys see Mick Conlan retired over the weekend? He fought. He had a tough fight, very close fight. Ended up losing a split decision.
I thought he won,
Kevin
bro.
Walsh.
I thought he won that fight.
Yeah, a lot of people thought so. I thought it was a really close fight. I lean towards Conlan too.
Imagine getting robbed your last fight at home. That forces you to retire. I mean, I guess.
He's famously the Olympian who was robbed terribly.
That's crazy. Yeah,
the bird to all the judges.
Yeah.
So that's how he ended his amateur career, and now he's ending his pro career.
You know what, Paulie and Chris? Mick Conlan is the perfect example of a guy who can't handle the anxiety of big, hard, tough fights.
Man, but he was a world champion. He was a minute away from being a world champion against Lee Wood.
Yes. And every
get over the hump.
Every single time, you can just tell that he's fighting stressed out. That's the perfect example of that because he has the talent.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on him.
He has the pedigree, but the way he fights when he's about to get to the finish line is just like he can't handle the anxiety of the fight. That's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
He's the perfect example of that. Because I always root for him because I got a kick out of him giving the bird to all of the judges.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I want to see this kid as a pro. And I think it was with Top Rank. Top Rank knows how to bring you along.
Yes.
Man.
Yep.
But
he called his pro debut.
Whatever reason, every time he got close to a big moment, he would just fall apart.
Man, but that Lee Wood fight, he was there that you could see the finish line, bro.
I know.
Listen, he finishes his career 20-4, 9 KOs. 10 KOs. And he's an Olympic bronze medalist, so obviously he's got a great amateur pedigree.
No, he didn't. I think he lost in the quarters. Did he win a bronze at that fight? Lost in the quarters.
No, I don't think he medaled at all, Chris.
My notes are wrong. That's my bad. But no, high level Olympian was a Ireland. Fought for the Irish Olympic team. Obviously did a tremendous amount in his pro career. Never got over the hump to win a world title, but was in a fight of the year. So, I always say fighters you want to be a world champion. You want to make life-changing money. You want to leave with your health, and it seems like Mick is. And you want to have one of those legendary nights. You want to have something that's going to live beyond just your name. And Mick did all of that except for getting the world title, which is a real shame because he's a very, very good fighter. Yeah. But we wish him the best from all of us here. I'm sure I have a ton of respect for Mick. I like Mick. And whenever a guy retires, I'm always happy because listen, not everybody gets to leave this sport standing up, and Mick did. So that's a congrats to a great career.
Hopefully, he stays on the business side of it because he's a likable guy, and I know
he's smart.
Doing some
he's very smart
in Ireland. So we'll hopefully continue to see Mick on the outside of the ring as well.
All right, guys, we're going to take a break. Tune in. Don't go anywhere. We have a big guest to announce as soon as you come back. So on the other side of this commercial, don't go anywhere. See you guys soon. Saturday, March 28th, ProBox TV's Contender Series is bringing a storm of flying leather to Thunder Studios in Long Beach. Career fortunes will be on the line in the main event as Mexican super bantamweight warrior Brian Acosta collides with two-time world title challenger Ronnie Rios in a crossroads battle. Then in the co-main event, Rene Tellez Giron will go 10 rounds or less with 20-2 Mayhem Maliak Montgomery. What's up, guys? Welcome to ProBox TV Spotlight Interview. I'm Chris Algieri. I got my partner, Paulie Malignaggi here, and we are joined very special guest, David Benavidez. Welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time. What's up, champ? How are you?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. It's very happy to be here with you guys, and thank you guys for inviting me to the show.
Yeah, man. Great to have you, David. Always great talking to you, and always exciting things going on with your career. How are things coming along for the Zurdo Ramirez? How does it feel to have the Cinco de Mayo weekend and be the main attraction, the star attraction on the Cinco de Mayo weekend? Something that we've thought was always in your future, but things were getting in the way before.
Man, it feels really good, man. I feel really blessed. It took long enough. I've been professional 13 years. So I'm just very happy to be here in this position. I'm very happy to continue to make history because this fight is just a very special Cinco de Mayo fight. This is the first fight where there's two Mexicans fighting for two belts in the cruiserweight division on Cinco de Mayo. So I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, this is a huge opportunity, and moving up to a new weight class on a huge weekend, like you said. How did this come about? Where did this fight even come about? Let's really go back. We've been talking about this fight for weeks now, and it's a huge event. But in terms of you jumping up to, another weight class, going into the cruiserweight and going right into a big fight for a title, how did this come about?
So it's always been something me and my father talked about. Because I've been sparring Zurdo Ramirez since I was 18 years old. In my opinion, I've gotten the better of him. I'm sure he'll say otherwise, but I always knew I was going to fight him. You know what I mean? I never thought I was going to fight him at cruiserweight. And also what happened was it's been very apparent that I've been trying to make the biggest and best fights happen. I'm in line, I was in line to fight Beterbiev even before the Anthony Yard fight. We got that fight. He said that he was going to fight a trilogy with Beterbiev. That never happened. And now he says he wants a tune-up fight, and then he's fighting Beterbiev. So for me, man, like I said, I want to make the biggest and best fights happen. We had talked to Oscar De La Hoya like about 2 years ago for to try to make the fight happen with Zurdo Ramirez. And then the opportunity came at the best moment. You know what I mean? The May 5th card opened up. And then we made that deal with Zurdo Ramirez, and now here we are. We're making a fight with Zurdo Ramirez. I just didn't want to I didn't want to backtrack and take, just a regular fight at 175 to defend my title. Like I said, I want to make the biggest and best fights happen, and this is why I decided to jump up 25 pounds to challenge for the cruiserweight titles.
David, two things. So you were gonna fight Beterbiev or Bivol? I got confused.
No, so I was number one to fight Bivol. Okay. I was ranked number one to fight Bivol. But after that second fight, he had that injury, and then he didn't fight for a while. So, just because he doesn't fight for a while doesn't mean I'm not number one contender anymore.
Sure, of course.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah. You found that out with Canelo too at 68, right?
Exactly. So this type of shit has been happening to me for a while. So, like I said, we had this big opportunity and we just went for it. And I feel like this is probably, this is one of the biggest fights that's going to happen this year. So it was a great opportunity we jumped on.
And David, the second thing, that was what I was going to ask you was, it's a jump, but Zurdo also started at 168, as did you. So it's not as far-fetched as, another super middleweight, and you're thinking, who's gone up in weight, you're thinking, oh man, this guy's fighting, like for example, if you were fighting Jai, which may happen in the future, who knows? But I'm saying if you find Jai Opetaia, who's in more of a natural cruiserweight, I'd say, whoa, it's a big physical jump. But Zurdo, as big as he is, was a champion at 68. You also champion at 68. So it's sort of, like you said, you've been sparring him since you're 18. You're just meeting at a common weight class.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And like I said, man, this is I feel like I'm gonna feel really good. I don't have any weight to lose. I'm already I'm 205 right now. And this is going to be the key difference for this fight. I'm already super energized. I already have a lot of energy. I have good stamina. And that's on top of me, losing 25 pounds. This fight I don't have to lose anyway. And I don't have to strip any muscle down. I'm gaining muscle with the strength and conditioning. So I'm expecting to have the best victory and best performance of my career up to that date.
Yeah, David, we were breaking down this fight, I believe it was last week, and we were saying that exact thing. Yeah, you guys both were 68-pounders who have come up. You both have fast hands. But Zurdo still has to make weight. You are going to come in a different position, and I think it's actually going to help your style because you're an energetic guy. You throw tons of punches, and you keep the pressure on all along. But you said something interesting there. You're putting on muscle. You're putting on lean weight. Does that mean you're going to stay at cruiserweight? Are we going to campaign there?
That's
or
what
is
I was
there
just thinking.
A chance that you were going to go back down to 75?
See, this guy reads my thoughts. You see that? I always say that. He's always speaking my thoughts. Go ahead.
I don't know, bro. Like I said, we're taking it one fight at a time. Like, as has been apparent, sometimes I think something's gonna happen after the fight, and it doesn't happen. So I'm doing what's best for me. I'm putting on muscle, but not really like a lot of muscle like that. What I've noticed from when I go up is that it's not in my power that makes me who I am. It's my combination punches and my speed. So now that I see that, you know, these guys, they're way slower than light heavyweights. They're way slower than super middleweights. And I'm even right now, I'm faster than super middleweights and light heavyweights. So that's gonna be, you know, that's gonna be my key right there: my speed, my combinations, and my movement. You know, I feel like you guys are gonna see more movement from David Benavidez, not to run, but just to set myself up for different shots. So, yeah, man, I'm a, you know, Surdo Ramirez, you know, all those guys, you know, compared to me and my speed, you know, I'm unmatched, you know, but I still need to work hard, still need to be on my P's and Q's, and I'm gonna be ready for whatever comes my way.
David, that's a great point. And it seemed like when the Vazig fight, you were trying to punch harder, and you weren't able to get the stoppage, and it seemed like you came more back to your identity in the yard fight, throwing a bunch of combinations and putting the punches together, and sort of you ended up lighting them up and overwhelming them with those combinations. So it was it seems like it was more about keeping your identity, and it's good to hear that you understand that now, even at going to cruiserweight, that combination punching has been your bread and butter.
Yeah, and I don't like bringing that fight up because I had a torn tendon right here, and then my knuckles were messed up. So I was basically handicapped for that fight, but for the Bosick fight. But I definitely learned a lot for myself from that fight. But yeah, going back to like the speed and combination, that's really where it's at. You know, so you know, we're just gonna throw punches and bunches, combinations, and then just be the vicious fighter that I always am.
Boxing.
You know, David, you've had the chance to come on our show a few times. We've spoken to your father a bunch of times as well. And I always say you move the way you want your champions to move. You've been giving up many roadblocks in your career, and you go to the roadblock. And you don't hang out. You're like, all right, I'm gonna go around and find my own lane. You consistently are doing that in these ways. You're moving up and fighting these top guys. Where does the confidence come from? Because we talked to you and your dad. You guys are soul focused and soul on moving forward. Like you guys are the best in the world. You know, how has that been developed, you know, to where you are today?
Just wanting to become the best, you know. I mean, for me and myself, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, we all have the little voice that talks to us that says, "Oh, get this fight or don't get this fight." At the end of the day, when I hear that little voice in my head, I'm not scared of nobody. You know what I mean? And I just not only do I want to prove to everybody in the world, I want to prove to myself first that I'm the best. And just since I was a little kid, I mean, Paulie knows. I mean, I think Paulie was the first professional fighter I sparred. I was sparring when I was like 13 years old, and you just go from going there, you know, sparring everybody, all world champions in California, and you know, just be just wanting more for myself. And now I have so much experience. You know, I've sparred the best fighters in the world. I've sparred champions since I was a little kid. I've won multiple titles myself. I just want to leave a great legacy, and I want to leave a great example for my sons. You know that you could achieve whatever you want to achieve. Obviously, if the right type of work is put in with hard work, you could achieve whatever. And like I said, I didn't really care about Canelo giving me an opportunity because I knew that if that Canelo fight never happened, there was always still other fights that could be made. There's a lot of great fighters in boxing right now. You know, there's a lot of talent, a lot of great fighters at 175, cruiserweight. And you know, that's what I'm gonna do. That's what makes boxing exciting. That it's never a fit when it comes to the best fighting the best, it's never a 50-50 fight. But that's what excites me. That risk, you know what I mean? That anything could happen. But you know, that's what I want to show the people that, you know, I don't look like the most vicious. I don't look like, you know, a scary guy. But when I get in that ring, that's exactly what I am. I'm a scary fighter.
David, I got a question for you. There's some people in the comments too that are, you know, some people are mad that Canelo gets brought up. Some people like that Canelo gets brought up. Listen, Canelo ducked you, so he's gonna get brought up. But my question is this, because Canelo, I don't put it past him to be shameless enough to do this. If he says, come back down to 68 now after the cruiserweight fight, where you've now, you know, put on muscle, probably have a very difficult time to make 68. If he says make 168 now, we'll fight. What do you say?
I'll tell him no.
No. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, bro, I was there for 10 years. Yeah. I think we're in #1 spot for like 4 years.
And 68 is almost undoable at this point, right?
I won't even think about 168. And even I wish you would say that, because then he'll be saying I'm scared without saying I'm scared.
Yeah. Right. That's a good point. But you know,
I think
how the
that's pretty
Canelo heads
easy to
think,
read.
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, man.
Oh, listen,
Great chat
David,
with you,
man.
David.
I wish more champions moved the way that you move and thought the way that you think, because I think you're really beneficial for the sport. You're living like a real champion and acting the way you should. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're in camp, so we don't want to take too much of your time, champ. But if you have anything else you want to say, man, floor is yours.
Yeah, I just want to tell the young fighters, bro, that you guys always gotta reach for greatness. You know, sometimes, like I said, these fights, they're not 50-50. But if you feel like you could win and you have the work ethic to back it up, try to achieve that greatness from you. Because that's when you achieve the greatness, when you're in places in the ring that's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I see a lot of people following the money. Yeah, this and that. Money's good. But if you give the fans and the fights that they want to see, you give the big super fights, the money's gonna come on its own. So you don't even gotta worry about that. But like, you just gotta challenge yourself. At the end of the day, you know, I've been seeing a lot of fights, you know, that they're not really too competitive, you know, because there's some fighters that they don't want to fight the best. Go out there and fight the best. Give the fans what they want to see. The fans pay hard-earned money, so let's give them what they want to see, and let's make the sport of boxing great again.
And that's why David Benavidez is must-see TV, guys.
That's it. Don't
Thank you,
miss
guys.
it. Thanks so much, David. Yep. Best of luck. Best luck of the rest of camp.
Yes, sir.
All right.
It's a great show today, champ.
Man, love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, he got me so excited for this fight too, man. That's exactly how you want your champions
Yeah,
to talk, and not enough of them move the way he does.
Living and breathing the sport, you know, like, you know, he's not trying to move in any way, but to be the best he can be. And, you know, exemplary fighter, has matured as a human being and as a man, and really is a fun fighter to watch each and every time. So, you know, you want to see more fighters like this.
Yeah, and guys, you want to see more interviews like this? Make sure you tune in every single day to Boxing Scene Today with myself and Paul Immanuwel. Thanks for tuning in today. Great show. This weekend, we have March 22nd, Brian Acosta versus Ronnie Rios at Thunder Studios, but also live on ProBox TV YouTube channel. Make sure you guys check it out. Paul and I will be there calling all the action. See you guys then. Saturday, March 28th, ProBox TV's Contender Series is bringing a storm of flying leather to Thunder Studios in Long Beach. Career fortunes will be on the line in the main event as Mexican super bantamweight warrior Brian Acosta collides with two-time world title challenger Ronnie Rios in a crossroads battle. Then in the co-main event, Rene Tellez Giron will go 10 rounds or less with 20-2 Mayhem Maliak Montgomery.